Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Shamsul Islam, Honorable Minister of the State, Minister of Planning, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, distinguished special guest, Rear Admiral Muhammad Khurshid Alam BN, Secretary, Maritime Affairs Unit, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, respected Chair of the session, Ambassador Kaji Imtiaz Hussain PAA, Chairman BIISS, respected Director General BISS, Major General Muhammad Maqsudur Rahman, OSP, BSP, PSC, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. On behalf of Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies, I welcome you all to the hybrid seminar on Blue Economy and Maritime Security, Bangladesh Perspective, organized by Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies. Distinguished guests, in today's seminar, we will have an inaugural session and a working session. At the inaugural session, Major General Muhammad Maqsudur Rahman, OSP, BSP, PSC, Director General BISS, will deliver his welcome address. Following the welcome address, we will hear from our special guest, Rear Admiral Muhammad Khurshid Alam BN, Secretary, Maritime Affairs Unit, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Then, our chief guest, Dr. Shamsul Alam, Honorable Minister of the State, Minister of Planning, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, will convey his valuable remarks. Ambassador Kaji Imtiaz Hussain PA, Chairman BISS, will conclude the inaugural session. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request the chair of the session, Ambassador Kaji Imtiaz Hussain, to kindly commence the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to all of you. Honorable State Minister for Planning, His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, Secretary Maritime Affairs Unit, Minister of Foreign Affairs, our special guest, Rear Admiral Muhammad Khurshid Alam, Major General Muhammad Maqsudur Rahman, OSP, BSP, PSC, Director General of PIS, distinguished panelists and members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to this morning's session on Blue Economy and Maritime Security Bangladesh Perspective. At the outset, I would like to extend a very warm welcome and convey our heartfelt thanks to His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, the Honorable State Minister, Ministry of Planning, for gracing this event as our chief guest. We are also honored to have Rear Admiral Muhammad Khurshid Alam, Secretary Maritime Affairs Unit and Minister of Foreign Affairs, to have graced this occasion as a special guest. I also extend on the behalf of the Institute, our heartfelt thanks to Ambassador Humayun Kabir, President BEI, Bangladesh Enterprise Institute, who has kindly accepted to chair the working session of the seminar. In today's seminar, we will have 4 distinguished panelists, and I would like to convey our deep appreciation and warm welcome to all of them, starting with Dr. Dilwar Hussain, Member, Public Service Commission and Professor, Department of International Affairs of Dhaka University, and Dr. Abul Kalam Azad, Professor of International Relations, Jahangirnagar University, who will share the thoughts on maritime security and strategy in the Bay of Bengal and blue economy and ocean governance from Bangladesh's perspective, respectively. Dr. Mahfouz Kabir, Research Director of BASE, will be talking to us on Bangladesh's economic prospect in the Bay of Bengal, while Ms. Motish Islam, Research Fellow of our institute, will explore the nexus between maritime security and the blue economy and its implication for Bangladesh in the post-COVID era. I can't agree more with the the topic selected for today's seminar because of its importance and relevance. However, I would be certainly would have been very happy if we could really call it a post-COVID era, while we are still dealing with this menace. Now, without further ado, may I request Major General Maqsudur Rahman, our Director General, to kindly deliver his welcome remarks. General Rahman, you have the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, Honorable State Minister, Ministry of Planning, Government of Bangladesh, respected special guest, Rear Admiral MD Khurshid Alam, Secretary, Maritime Affairs Unit, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, respected Chairman, Ambassador Qazi Imtiaz Hussain, respected Chair of the Working Session, Ambassador M. Humayun Kabir, President Bangladesh Enterprise Institute, learned panelists, excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to you all. On behalf of Bangladesh Institute of International and Strategic Studies, let me welcome you all to today's seminar on Blue Economy and Maritime Security, Bangladesh Perspective. Our heartfelt gratitude to the Honorable Chief Guest and the special guest for gracing today's occasion. At the outset, I would like to pay the deepest reverence to the memory of the Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and all martyrs who laid their lives for the liberation of Bangladesh. Distinguished guest, Bangladesh, being a littoral of the Bay of Bengal, has inherited a historical legacy of dependency on marine resources. Bengalis' habit of marine trade and success in shipbuilding had been interconnected with their national character since long before and were famously known in the subcontinent and beyond. Our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, had brought this unique trend of the Bengali nation into his maritime vision and strategy. The reflection of Alfred Mohan's philosophy, I quote, "Whoever controls the Indian Ocean dominates Asia. This ocean is the key to the 7 seas in the 21st century. The destiny of the world will be decided on its water," I unquote, was found in the policy and strategy of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. As Mohan focused on the nation's naval power, Bangabandhu understood the geopolitical importance of the sea and put emphasis on maritime security. He believed that for geopolitical needs, Bangladesh should have a strong navy. Dear participants, maritime vision of Bangladesh includes making law and policies, diplomatic endeavors to solve maritime disputes with neighbor, achieving institutional capability, and strengthening research activities. Bangabandhu made the Territorial Water and Maritime Zone Act in 1974, 8 years prior to the UN Convention on Law of the Sea came into being in 1982. This act paved a new horizon in maritime security, blue economy, and ocean governance of Bangladesh. After the independence, the government started to negotiate with India and Myanmar for a peaceful resolution of maritime disputes. To increase the institutional and infrastructural capability, Bangabandhu undertook different initiatives like removing mines and repairing the Chittagong port, modernization of Navy, and developing the Shipping Corporation, emphasizing maritime research and establishing a research institute which came into reality in 2015 with the establishment of the Bangladesh Oceanographic Research Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, with that legacy of Bangabandhu, Bangladesh has solved maritime dispute with the neighbors peacefully and achieved sovereignty over more than 118,813 square kilometer sea area, including 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone and 354 nautical miles of continental shelf. Under the dynamic leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh is moving forward to utilize its marine resources for its development and ensuring maritime security. To strengthen maritime security and to make marine governance more efficient, to harness benefit from the blue economy, the government has amended the Territorial Water and Maritime Zone Act 1974 in 2021. Bangladesh has targeted to increase the contribution of the blue economy to GDP by 9% in 2025 and 10% in 2030. Experts argue that Bangladesh has $120 trillion ocean resources, which could make Bangladesh an Asian superpower. However, there are challenges and more research should be done to identify challenges and opportunities. Therefore, to harness huge untapped resource of the vast area of the sea, Bangladesh needs to emphasize on creating a blue economy belt. I hope the learned panelists of today's seminar will discuss in details and come up with effective policy suggestions. Finally, again, I express my gratitude to the Honorable Chief Guest, the special guest, distinguished panelists, and the learned audience for encouraging us with their kind presence. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, General Rahman, for your welcome remarks and an outline of what is expected of this seminar. With the kind permission of the chief guest and special guest, I would like to share a few thoughts of my own with you. Honorable Chief Guest, respected special guest, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends. The importance of blue economy to humankind can hardly be overemphasized. 71% of the planet is covered with ocean. Seas and oceans are lifeline of the humankind. Ocean generates oxygen, absorbs carbon dioxide, and supports life. Ocean acts as a heat reservoir, absorbs 30% of greenhouse gases as well as 90% of excess heat caused by global warming. The existence of human race will be in peril if the maritime ecological system disrupts. Ocean provides food, livelihoods. Globally, 1 of 10 livelihood depends on fisheries, with more than 90% of employment created in the developing countries. Ocean provides cheapest and safest route of transportation. 90% of global trade, 60% of all transportation takes place through sea routes. Ocean supports economic activities of various range: shipping, fisheries, energy generation, seaports, tourism, mineral explorations, minings, and which contribute to the economic well-being of the countries across the world. The current value of the global economy is around $2.5 trillion, expected to reach $3 trillion by 2030, less than a decade from now. Simply put, the ocean and seas are the lifeblood of the planet and its habitant. Bangladesh, as a little country in the Indian Ocean, has a vital interest in sea and its ocean, not only for its economic reason for exploration of its oil and gas in her exclusive economic zone and an outlet to the world trade. The ocean-centric economic activities, as I could see from the 7th five-year plan, was around 3% of our GDP, mostly derived from tourism and recreations, fisheries, aquaculture, transport. If you compare with the other regional countries such as Thailand, which contributes to some 30%, Malaysia 23%, Indonesia 28%, even India has got 4% of GDP coming from the sea economy. And it is believed that we have great opportunities if we can properly harness our ocean resources and harness blue economy. In 74, I mean, in terms of the initiatives that the government of Bangladesh has taken, we start right after the independence. In 74, Bangabandhu adopted the Territorial Waters and Maritime Zones Act of 1974, which was almost 8 years before the declaration of UNCLOS, as had mentioned by our Director General. It has recently been amended, and the government has gained several rights to enjoy our maritime boundary. It has now greater ability to control marine pollution and preserve the marine diversity and boost the blue economy. The government of Bangladesh has also formulated a number of short, medium, and long-term plan of actions with a view to conserving, control, harnessing, managing, and development of fishes in the Bay of Bengal. The Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100 has a very special focus on blue economy. The government has already identified 26 sectors, including exploration of new opportunities that has been created after the delimitation of our maritime boundary. Now, one of the things that really comes up that and in different literature on this issue, on Bangladesh's blue economy approach, when it is talked about, is that do we have a strategic policy? Do we have a national policy? Do we have taken a number of initiatives, including forming a blue economy cell under the Mineral and Resources Division some 5 years back, 2017. Whether it is working effectively, whether the interministerial interagency coordination is taking place, which is essential because these economic activities is spread across different ministries and different agencies. The requirement for us, for Bangladesh, and we will be hearing to our special guest who has been very, very closely involved and had led in many cases our own initiative of reviving and addressing the blue economy challenges and taking advantage of the opportunities that the economy has. Clearly outlines a few difficult, challenging areas. The challenging areas is creating of a comprehensive strategic plan, nationally integrated plan. We have challenges of coordination. We have challenges of resources. We have challenges of lack of awareness among the people of its opportunities, what needs to be done. And these are the things that will certainly be looked into. And most importantly, I think there needs to have a comprehensive study as what is for us to take on, what is there that we can do as a nation to explore and exploit the full potential, as has been mentioned by the Director General, which is close to $123 billion of opportunity that Bangladesh has. So to materialize it, we need a comprehensive strategic plan, a coordinated effort. At the same time, the conservation of the ocean's resources and the health of the ocean is of paramount importance. Bangladesh being a climate vulnerable country, the impact of climate changes in our economy and to our people is immense. And in this context, we would particularly like to mention, and a large part of it has been covered by the Director General in an opening statement with regard to the maritime security. It's not only the security of the threats that we have seen, the threats from piracy, threats from armed robbery, illegal transportation of drugs, illicit drugs, illegal migration, human trafficking. These are the challenges that our security forces have to deal with. Our Navy and coastal guards, they are doing the best, but we need to also put a greater attention and emphasis, not only to retain and maintain the territorial integrity, but also to thwart these challenges coming from different criminal groups, which hampers our economic prospect. During the course of the next hour and a half, we will be exploring all these elements and see what roadmap we can chart out for taking the biggest advantage of the opportunities that the blue economy offers to us. With those words, may I now request our special guest, Rear Admiral Mohammad Khurshid Alam, to kindly take the floor and make his presentation. Slide. Full screen. Full. Yes. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And good morning. Today's chief guest, Honorable State Minister for Planning, Chairman BISSS, and Director General BISSS, and distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum. Well, to start with, the blue economy itself is a topic which can be discussed for our whole day. Maritime security is also equally important. So combining together is a difficult proposition. But however, I will only try to say what is actually blue economy, but not touch on the maritime security, because those two aspects can hardly be combined with the one. Next. So we actually mostly go to the sea, that is near, Cox's Bazar. If you happen to go, then you will find people walking or taking bath in the knee-deep water, and that's it. They don't go much into the, deeper part of the ocean. So we have very limited knowledge about the ocean. If you come back with the knee-deep water theory, you really do not know the ocean exactly. Next. Oceans have such a colorful, beautiful plants and other animals and everything that we really don't see from the Cox's Bazar beaches or Kuakata beaches. And that doesn't allure us also, because we really don't have ideas much. Next. So far the world has estimated that the around 10% of the ocean has been, they have been able to estimate. And it is said that it is, total is US $24 trillion worth of resources are there. And out of that, as the chairman BISS has said, the 2.5 trillion are being used by the human being. That means it's not that the developing countries have already, or developed countries have already taken up all the resources. There are no resources for us. That means there is a scope for Bangladesh also now to get into the sea and get the resources. Next. If we look at the Sustainable Development Goals in a cake shape, then you can see that goal 14 is in the biosphere, in the base of the cake. And that means if the biosphere is okay, the society will grow. And then if the society grows, then the economy will flourish. So that means goal 14 is very much linked to the almost all the SDG goals. If you recollect that in the Millennium Development Goals, there was no goal 14. There was nothing, no mention of the sea, but this time it is there. Next. Bangladesh is in 2014, we got the final boundary. It has already been said. That's the boundary we have enjoyed. Next. But if you translate into three-dimensional pictures, from the Bangladesh coastline, we have got about 664 kilometer long sea area, 664. And if you look at the depth-wise, it is about 2,300 meter depth. That's where whatever living resources as well as non-living resources are there within these vast areas, Bangladesh can exercise its sovereign rights to explore it. That's important. Right?
So the blue economy is what? Blue economy is actually activities that are directly or indirectly related to the sea or using the sea resources, whether it is done on the land or coastal waters or on the surface of the sea. That is what is blue economy. They're all economic activities which are connected with the seas. Next. So we have identified number of areas of the blue economy. As you can see, we studied with the European Union help, and then we formulated a policy that these are the areas where Bangladesh can probably, it is shipping, fishing, mariculture, then oil and gas sector, and others, as you can see there. Next. So the blue economy has to be sustainable. That is one more important thing. Yes, it has to be sustainable. It has to be pro-people. And all the good things, whatever you can call, they should be there. Next. আরেকটা click করেন ওখানে বাজবে. First is shipping. As you can see, these are all the white dots are actually shipping. And all the white dots are actually shipping. That means there are about 150,000 ships all over the world. They carry almost 11 billion tons of goods from one country to another, 11 billion tons. So that's a huge amount because that is the cheapest way to transport goods and everything. It is stop for a next season. Bangladesh also, see, in Bangladesh also, what we see that our ports, our business is almost over $100 billion. And this trade is also carried by the sea. Chittagong port last year handled about 5,000 ships. They visited Bangladeshi ports. And we have paid for this over $100 billion of export and import, almost $9 billion as a freight charge. Or you can say the taxi bhara, bus bhara, or jahaz bhara. Because we don't have much ships. We have only last year increased our ships number to 82. So that's a big point for us. If we had the ships, then we could carry about 50% of our goods to the other countries by our own means. But that's not possible because we don't have. Also on the container side, once the Chittagong container comes once, one container is stuffed into 3 covered vans. And the same way from Dhaka also, 3 covered vans carry 1 container load to Chittagong. That's why the road is very much congested. You don't see much, but we are a riverine country. Next. You see in the Europe, through the rivers, there are containers are being carried. But in Bangladesh, we are a riverine country, but hardly the containers are being carried by. Next slide, please. See, we have now made Pangao a terminal, Pangao terminal, but the ships to carry the container from Chittagong to Dhaka are not there enough. There are hardly 3 or 4, 5 ships. So that's a big difficulty. If the ships are increased, and also, next slide, the roads are a bit aligned, then this will be, this will definitely improve. And seafarers as a whole contribute a lot. They earn a lot of money. The ship's captain earns about $10,000 per month. A tanker captain earns about $15,000 a month. But however, whatever may be said, that we do not have much contribution. The Philippines supplies 46% of the seafarers to the world shipping as a whole. Next. Our trade is increasing every year by 15%. It is not pacing with the GDP. It is 15% every year. Now, if it does that, then where do we have the issue? Ports. Next. Our ports, as you can see, Mongla port is also river port. It is limited to 7-meter maximum draft ships. Paira is also a river port. It is also limited to 6 meter, not more than that. Then Chittagong port is also 9.5 meter. So there is hardly any port where big draft ships can come right at the moment. So Matharbari is the best option. Next. Motherberry, once it comes up, it will have a draft of about 14 to 18 meters. So that means quite medium-sized ships could come. Next. You have to remember that 74% of all the container originates from Asia. So that means container will go increase in the time to come, and we must bear in fact that the preparation for us should be much more developed than what we are. Next. You can see right now on the left-hand side, the ships, the small ships carrying 2,000 containers can come to Bangladesh. On the right-hand side, the size of the ships is 24,000 containers. It's quite a big, 24,000. Next. Shipping is a labor-intensive industry. There is no doubt in that. Next. Fishing. We have this, we actually go to sea for fishing by small boat, wooden boats, and we have hardly, the steel body trawler is about only 220, not more than that. Next. And that's why we cannot catch the big tuna fish or other big fishes which are under the deeper waters. Next. Because of that, the long line fishing we could not introduce as of now, even in the last 15 years of time. And that's becoming a problem for us all the time. Next. Problem is that by 2030, population will increase in the worldwide. World will need 100 million tons of fish. From where it is going to come? It is not going to come from it's not going to come from the sea, from the culture only, from the sea only. So we need to plan that at least 1 million, 5 million tons of fish we would be able to supply to the world. Next. So the culture is the option, mariculture, culture at sea. We will also help that, the fresh water is not utilized much more. Next. Next. Shipbuilding. Shipbuilding at the moment we are doing 0.84% only, but if we can increase it to 1%, it will be $400 billion market. So that is another good area. Next. Ship recycling is also $2 billion industry in Bangladesh, but only problem is next is this pollution. We are polluting the sea area because of the Bhattiari shipbreaking yard. Next. Biotechnology. Biotechnology is another important area that is from the sea and fishes to create medicine and other things. Every country is trying. We are not there as yet. Next. We have found out from the few types of our, you can say the seaweeds. We have, with the Netherlands, we have carried out a joint research and found out that yes, the seaweeds have very unique quality of providing soap contents as well as fish feed. So let's see how far we can go with that. Next. If you go to Iceland, you will see that cod fish, nothing is left out. The skin, next. The skin is used for making jackets, fish skin. It's not smelly at all, rather quite costly. And we are in the only in the drying fish. Still we are there. Coastal country, coastal areas. There is no electricity, nothing. So they have no option other than to dry the fish. Next, cruise line tourism. There is no cruise line tourism in Bangladesh except one ship came in 2017. That's the only cruise line tourism, but benefits are quite extensive. Next. Oil and gas sector, it is around 12 years. We have got this land, got this maritime area, but so far there's no oil and gas exploration in the Bay of Bengal. Next. Myanmar has a stuck gas just close to our maritime boundary line. India also has got gas, but not in our area. Next. There are a lot of minerals in our areas. but no effort. Yes, next. Energy, emerging marine-based renewable energy. Yes, there are opportunities, but we are not there. We are trying with wind, but may not be very successful. Next, we are only stuck with salt, and it is also very old mechanical means. So we cannot export this salt because they are not pure salt. If the pure salt, you have to have a machine, and then we should be able to export. Next. Mangrove is another area where the carbon dioxide sequestration takes place, because the root of the mangrove forest takes up the carbon dioxide. It stays for 2000 years. So that area we need to explore and continue to do it as a natural habitat. Next. Wind power, Bangladesh is not there. Probably higher. So that will be costlier. Next. Gas hydrate, we have found out that about 17 TC of gas hydrate are there. Gas hydrate are actually methane gas, still methane gas, but they are underwater, under the seabed, about 1 to 2 nautical mile. So the technology is still not there, but we have a big fossil fuel will not be utilized. This can be utilized. Next. Submarine cable is also a big business. Every day, the submarine cable makes business about $10 trillion worth. All submarine cables company, $10 trillion worth every day. Next. Monsoon research is also not very proper in Bangladesh. We are not doing enough on the monsoon research. We need to augment this. Next. Pollution is a big problem for us, so we need to look into this. Next. Microplastic is also a big polluter. We also need to look after this one again. Next. You see, now in the sea, there are 150 million metric tons of plastic, and fish is about 812. But by 2050, the thing will reverse. That means 850 million metric tons of plastic will be there. So at that time, if you go and try to fish, maybe you get more plastic than the fish itself. Next. There are challenges for us because there are no maritime industries. Maritime safety and security we cannot ensure. Maritime education and production is pollution. We are not in a position to do that. That's why the marine resources are a challenge for the governors to get it. Next. So you have to pick up the target, which one is good for us. Maybe fish and fish oil will be the first target. That is, I would recommend. Next. So if you look at the Bangladesh, I place Bangladesh in a separate perspective, you see, just upside down. Because why? Because if you want to go to India, you need passport and visa. If you want to go to Myanmar, you need passport and visa. But if you want to go to South, you don't need passport and visa. You need a ship and some skilled manpower, and that will be your asset. And then you can bring back the resources from Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, Atlantic, and also Pacific Ocean. Only not going within 200 miles of other countries. So that's why I say that our third neighbor, that is Bay of Bengal, is the most friendly neighbor we have, and we will have to continue to use it in our best advantage. Next. I just give you an example that we have capacity and capability. Capacity is our certificate. We have got master certificate or Guaiter certificate. But if you don't turn that capacity into capability, what happens? A 1300cc car has fallen down. So you see, a crane has come. Next, crane has lined up, but 5-ton capacity, it can pick up. But if you pick up like this, you cannot pick up the same amount of goods like this. So the operator probably didn't have the capability. So when he tried to pick it up, next, then somebody said, okay, we have a bigger crane, we have a bigger crane, we'll put it up. Next, so a bigger crane was put up. Again, the operator doesn't have the capability. He had the capacity, 10 ton, to pick it up. But it fully stressed, you can't do the same thing, So when you try to pick it up, next, this is what happens. So I will urge upon all the distinguished participants present here that we need to develop our capability. Capacity you all have, otherwise you will not be here, but capability is important. Next. I think, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, sir, for your very interesting presentation. I was looking at the watch. We are running a little late, but I would certainly like to endorse your last comment, which emphasizes on capacity building, and that goes across every sector. Human resource capabilities is one big challenge that we face, and I mention every now and then issue is discussed. Thank you very much for your presentation, sir. May I now request, and it's our privilege to have His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, Minister of State, Minister of Planning, to kindly take the floor. Sir, you have the floor.
A very good morning to you all. Honorable Qazi Imtiaz Hussain, Ambassador, who is chairing this session, and Major General Muhammad Maqsudur Rahman, Director General BIISS, and Rear Admiral retired Khurshid Alam, who is Secretary Maritime Affairs for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And also we have with us Ambassador Humayun Kabir, who is President BEI. And we have with us Dr. Abul Kalam Azad, who will be presenting a paper in the working session, and also Dr. Dalar Hussain, Professor of International Relations, University of Dhaka. We have with us Ms. Mautoshi Islam, another paper presenter, Dr. Mahfuzur Rahman, and the respected audience and the media. And certainly we heard very informative paper from Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam and about the potential of our sea resources. We heard from Imtiaz Hussain, who also spoke on actually security strategy of our sea areas. And also we have introductory speech from our Director General BIIS, who also emphasized both economic potential and how we would go with our security things with our sea resources. Particularly in my speech, I will recapitulate mostly what we have in our national plans, particularly in the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100, which dealt in elaborate about the exploration of our sea potential of use of sea resources. And we have also detailed out what we should do in our second prospective plan, 2021-2022, and also the 5-year plan, which is in vogue now, the 8th 5-year plan, how we strategize the potential of using sea resources in our country. The topic is very important. I personally thank BIISS for inviting me to remain here as chief guest, and they provided me opportunity to hear very informative papers from 3 presenters who are on the dais. So I really got benefited hearing so many important information relating to our sea resources. Blue economy and maritime security, Bangladesh perspective. In the last decade, Bangladesh witnessed remarkable achievement not only in the area of economic growth, poverty reduction, women empowerment, literacy, life expectancy, and in surpassing critical milestone such as becoming lower middle income country on 1 June 2015 and become eligible for graduating from least developed country to a developing country, which will be formally accorded in 2026. So we achieved these two milestone achievements during last 1 decade. Of course, we formulated one 10-year long perspective plan covering the period 2010-2021, the 11-year period, if I say. And the second one, 20-year long perspective plan to attain certain goals and targets following overall development strategy. And we're achieving remarkable successes in social development over the last decade, you all know. But probably the most important and the most unique one in terms of plan we have is the Delta Plan 2100 in the 21st century. Bangladesh is only a unique country who has this kind of 100-year plan addressing climate change, adverse impacts and managing natural resources in appropriate way. Given the fact that the fate of this country and the well-being of the people to a larger extent are inextricably related to water resources and management and handling climate hazards. In this sense, the Bangladesh Delta Plan, in short, we say BDP 2100, is a broad-based long-term vision about the likely changes and a necessary intervention to make the Bangladesh Delta a safe one by the end of the 21st century. Bangladesh's development progress in the future is dependent on its capacities to explore the untapped resources, to unlock the potentials of great victory against Myanmar and India in maritime deal. The government, and this is also a milestone achievement we have in this decade. This was a problem for last 75 years and maritime, when British left this continent, and then on we have the problem. So we must thank the government of Sheikh Hasina, particularly Sheikh Hasina, our Honorable Prime Minister, who could resolve it through following international diplomacy and having taken it to ITLOS, and we received a vast area. So this is also one of the milestone achievements of this government over the last decade. Bangladesh's development progress in the future is dependent on its capacities to explore the untapped resources, as I already said it, to unlock the potential of great victory against Myanmar and India in maritime deal. The government considers the blue economy as a new development space. Shipping, we heard how much potential it is in terms of freight and transportation, sea transportation from Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam. Shipping, coastal shipping, seaports, shipbuilding and recycling, marine fisheries, extracting sea salt, coastal tourism, ocean energy, land reclamation, maritime surveillance, human resources of development and governance have been identified as key priority sectors in the plan BDP 2100. In brief, I just bring to you the strategies of blue economy, as we said in the BDP 2100, which are: number one, quick completion of multi-dimensional survey of marine resources, perhaps not yet done. Increase the number of ocean-going vessels and modernization capacity building the seaports. Obviously, this is very much needed, but I don't know why private sector is not coming up with shipping, ocean-going shipping. We need to explore that, and we need to talk to also that how we can help private sector to come up with using ocean-going vessels. Increase the number of ocean-going vessels and modernization capacity building of the seaports. Increase both shallow and deep sea fishing. Introduction of ecotourism and private sector initiative in sea cruise, keeping the coastal and seaport pollution-free. All these are stated in Delta Plan 2100. Again, the context, the 8th plan prioritizes the exploration of marine resources and is increasingly becoming an area that Bangladesh is looking forward to explore seriously, which makes Bay of Bengal open a source of valuable asset and also facilitates international trade and commerce. Furthermore, with the settlement of maritime border disputes with India and Myanmar, their territorial waters are now ripe for development exploration. In particular, the maritime settlements have given Bangladesh entitlement on 118,813 square kilometers in the Bay of Bengal. You all know that. Bengal comprising her territorial sea, we got almost near about our land area. The shallow shelf area and continental shelf constitute about 20% shallow shelf sea and 35% respectively continental shelf respectively. The rest 45% lying in deeper waters. As a result, under the 8th five-year plan, the government will explore the potential of the blue economy through a sustainable mechanism and identify adequate policies which will help formulate an optimal investment plan which can contribute to sustainable and inclusive economic growth, employment, and well-being while preserving the health of the ocean. Bangladesh Climate Change Trust has developed its long-term, mid-term, and short-term plan under blue economy. The blue economy comprises activities that directly or indirectly takes in the seas, oceans, and coasts using oceanic resources, and eventually contributing to sustainable and inclusive economic growth, employment, and well-being while preserving the health of the ocean. It includes activities such as exploration and development of marine resources, appropriate use of ocean and coastal space, use of ocean products, provision of goods and services to support ocean activities, and protection of ocean environment. The transition to blue economy would entail fundamental and systemic changes in their policy regulatory management, governance frameworks, and identification of various maritime economic functions. To strengthen institutional coordination, this is important because we heard about a lot of potential of our sea area. And up until now, if I say, we have little translated into actions up until now, as we hear about the potentials. Anyway, to strengthen the institutional coordination, the government, through a Gazette notification dated 22 October 2014, constituted a 25-member coordination committee to tap marine resources and its proper management. Principal Secretary, Prime Minister's Office is the coordinator of the coordination committee. Of course, recently, Energy and Mineral Resources Division of the Ministry of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources has been entrusted with the coordination. A blue economy cell has been established within the Energy and Mineral Resources Division. The strategy for the blue economy as outlined in the second prospective plan, which covers the period 2021-2041. The vision document we have, which encompasses develop a sound policy framework for harnessing the potential of blue economy. Much of the investment for the development of the blue economy will come from the private sector. To address the lack of knowledge and assessment of ocean resource constraint, a two-pronged strategy will be adopted. Two-pronged strategy meaning exploration and researches and new planning for future, particularly covering the sea resources. We should have a longer-term plan of action, what we will be doing next 30 years, 40 years, or 50 years. We need to have a strategic action plan. Both knowledge and resource mobilization will benefit from regional and international cooperation arrangements, building on the ongoing initiatives with India, China, and the EU to fast track the research and joint investment relating to the blue economy. We need international cooperation very much, and regional cooperation also. Top priority will be given to ensure sustainable use of marine resources. Further efforts will focus on navigators, fisheries technologies, biotechnologies, and marine resource surveyors in consultation with leading national teaching institutions. Emphasis will be placed on tapping the potential from seaweeds that plays a major role in marine ecosystems and has multi-purpose uses such as human food, medicine, manure and fertilizer, and industrial materials. A strong emphasis will be placed on maintaining biodiversity to ensure long-term fish availability and freeing the seas from microplastics. A strong emphasis will be placed on maintaining biodiversity to ensure long-term safe fish availability. Steps will be taken to tap the potentials of the blue economy as a source of energy through offshore drilling and exploration. Blue bond may also be introduced to generate resource in the capital market. Certainly, we are in dearth of resources to invest for sea researches and exploring the underneath what we have at the sea. We need huge resources. So we can exploit use of blue bond, which may generate a lot of funds, and many countries, Nordic, Sweden, Norway, Sweden, we explain the examples of other countries. Also, we explain the example of Indonesia, how they are using their sea resources. This is, I'm referring, we had one study while I was in GD. I conducted one study how we can generate resources for tapping our vast sea area. So that blue bond, we proposed there to introduce blue bond. We have big demand for bonds. As we saw while Finance Ministry introduced Sukuk, 6 times more subscriptions were there to buy that. That's why I say we can generate funds and allow private sector to come in if we can introduce blue bond in the capital market. So that can be used as guidelines how we can go with the blue bond study by General Economics Division. We finished it 2-3 years ago, perhaps. After completing BTP 2100, then immediately we thought we need to say something how resources can be generated. Then we conducted the study. That is very much relevant and pertinent, I think. Now I'll come up with some recommendations, hearing all these potentials, importance, so on and so forth. Certainly big potential, no doubt about that. There seems to have a lot of confusions about the role of individual ministries, divisions on the blue economy due to its unmatched potential of the economy. So I think, this is I'm proposing, you can think of, I think there should be a separate ministry to deal with matters related to blue economy. It's diverse and very important, so we need to have one single ministry and having one division under the or one division. If we are, scared of having new ministry, then we can have one separate division under the Ministry of Science and Technology to deal with the entire, issues of our sea resources, using our sea resources. SDG 14, you all know, which is conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources directly related to the blue economy. So to attain this goal, we need to have one ministry or division, if not whole ministry, one division with the Ministry of Science and Technology, or maybe in other ministry it can be placed too, but we need to have separate division to deal this broad spectrum of this issue. Hence, harnessing blue economy means we'll be achieving SDG 40 unless no other way. Having said this, I wish for successful deliberations and discussions in the seminar. We have very resourceful presenters in the working session. I hope that will be very attractive and useful. So I wish success of this seminar on a particular, very important topic. I thank BIISS again for arranging discussion on this important topic. I wish to end here. Thank you all. Joy Bangla.
Ladies and gentlemen, now there will be a break for 20 minutes for tea break. We'll reassemble here at 11:56 hours for the working session. The light refreshment has been arranged at the lobby. Our BIS faculty will guide you to the appropriate locations. Thank you.
In a hybrid seminar on blue economy and the maritime security, Bangladesh perspective. So we will just start the session, but before that, let me pay my respect to our honorable chief guest, His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, Honorable State Minister, Minister of Planning, Government of Bangladesh. Let me also convey my regards to Admiral Khurshid Alam, who is the special guest, and I think he made an excellent presentation, which I think captured the essence of our discussion today. Also, let me acknowledge the assistance of the chairman of this institute, Ambassador Qazi Imtiaz Hussain, and lastly, I should say that Major General Maqsudur Rahman, Director General of BIS, and now the respected panelists, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning, and let me extend you a very warm welcome to the working session. I think the tone of our discussion has already been set during the, I would say, inaugural session. In his presentation, Admiral Khurshid has given us a flavor of where are we, and Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Shamsul Alam, has also given some policy perspective and where we stand at this time. Now, the working session, we have, I would say, that very interesting, and this is a very, needless to say that this is a very timely and appropriate theme on which we are here to discuss. We talk about maritime boundary a lot. We talk about the blue economy these days a lot. These are blue economy, maritime security, as has been mentioned by Admiral Khurshid, is slightly distinct, but somehow linked subject. Because if there is no security, we cannot explore or exploit the blue economy. So we have to we'll try to understand what is the relationship between these two dimensions of the same issue. And we have very distinguished
panelists here, expert, I would say, not only panelists. I've been, while I was invited to come here, I was looking at some of the write-ups, and I should say that I was really impressed by the kind of work some of them have done. And today we have here Dr. Abul Kalam Azad. He's a professor of international relations, Jahangirnagar University, and he will be speaking on blue economy and ocean governance. And Bangladesh perspective would be his priority. And then Dr. Dalwar Hussain, who is a professor of international relations department, Dhaka University, and now he's also a very distinguished member of the Public Service Commission. Dr. Dalwar will talk about the maritime security and strategy in the Bay of Bengal. And then we have Dr. Mahfouz Kabir. He will be talking about the Bangladesh's economic prospect in the Bay of Bengal. And we have Moutushi from Islam, and she will talk about the nexus between maritime security and blue economy, implications for Bangladesh in the post-COVID era. So we have four interesting papers. So we look forward to hearing from them within the next few minutes. And before that, let me just highlight a few elements as a kind of setting the discussion. Two things I would mention here during the discussion, and whatever we understand, is the fact that, like many countries in the world, we are still suffering from a ocean blindedness, they call it. Meaning that it is there, we know, we use partially, but essentially we are blind to the kind of potential or the opportunities that exist here. So it's not Bangladesh alone. There are many countries, and this is in the literature I saw that they use this word for many countries. So maybe we are suffering from slightly, I would say, ocean blindedness yet. But now we are thinking differently, and it's good that we are discussing now. And in terms of few ideas or few frame or parameters, if I may mention, I would like to draw your attention to 3-4 elements. First one is that since 2014, I would say, we have our maritime boundary delimited both with India and Myanmar. So it means that the area is clean, clear, and now we can use and explore or exploit them as much as we want. And the second element I should mention is that if you look at the geography of Bangladesh, then you can see we sit at the tip of a funnel. It means, as Admiral Khurshid has mentioned, that the whole thing is opening up as we go down, meaning that this opens up an opportunity for us, but at the same time, it also creates certain challenges for us in terms of the climate management, if I may say so. So this is one thing that we have. We are sitting at the tip, and now the whole ocean area is an opportunity for us if we can explore and exploit that. And the third point that I should mention here, when we talk about maritime security or blue economy, let us not only limit our focus on Bangladesh and Bay of Bengal, because Bay of Bengal is an independent entity unit. But now if you look at the overall political atmosphere around the larger context, then many other things have now come up. And we have to understand the implications of those issues on the management of the Bay of Bengal. Just to give you an example, the big ideas, the Chinese BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, was launched in 2013. Just around the time when we got our delimitation clear. So BRI, and then it was followed up by Indo-Pacific strategy of US, and now it is being enriched through different initiatives. And now we are also seeing that our region, some of the regional countries are taking their own initiatives, such as Sagar, security and growth for all in the region. So India is taking the initiative, China is taking the initiative, US is taking the initiative, and a larger regional context is developing, which is connecting the Bay of Bengal. So when I look at this geography, I would think that Bay of Bengal or blue economy that we are talking, or the maritime security that we are talking, is not limited to only Bay of Bengal. It is a part of the larger domains, ocean domain that we have in front of us. And we have to understand that context. Otherwise, we'll be limiting ourselves, or we will perhaps invite unnecessary complications. For example, to be honest, even we can be handicapped. For example, I was seeing the other day, another feature that we are seeing in this region. Honorable Chief Guest mentioned about coordination and also regional coordination. Now, one of the challenges that we have in South Asia, we lack the regional cooperation and collaboration. And that affects our collaboration from a larger context in the ocean and the Bay of Bengal as well. And that's why what we are seeing on the land, we are more focused on the bilateral side, or we are trying to frame the cooperation based on bilateralism. On the ocean side also, we are seeing the same trend. So for Bangladesh, which believes in multilateralism or open regionalism on the land, we must also promote open regionalism on the sea as well, because that's our interest from a larger, I would say, perspective or larger context. So we have experts, set of experts, very distinguished experts. Let me go to them and then hear from them, and perhaps the very distinguished audience that we have in front of us. During the open session, we might also be hearing from them and enrich our discussion today. So with these introductory words, let me now invite our first presenter, paper presenter, Dr. Abul Kalam Azad, Professor of International Relations, Jahangirnagar University. He will be speaking on blue economy and ocean governance, Bangladesh perspective. And I would request all the four distinguished panelists that each one will have roughly around 15 minutes. So if they can finish early, that would be better. After you finish 10 minutes, sir, I will give you just
Thank you, respected chairman of the session, for giving me the floor. Distinguished chief guest of the seminar, His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, then Ambassador Qazi Imtiaz Hussain, the acting chairman of BISS, and also Director General of BISS, Major General Mahamudur Maqsudur Rahman, and also, oh my God, I forgot to mention about the special guest, that is our distinguished Rear Admiral His Excellency Khurshid Alam, Secretary, Maritime Unit, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Actually, I'm sorry, sir, you are the King of Maritime Affairs in Bangladesh. Sorry. So I welcome you all, and Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. My presentation is a little bit different. First year mankind indifference to the was oceans and seas. Everybody, my predecessors, they all alluded to sea blindness, our indifference to oceans, Manush, Janana Shapkisu, all these things. All our distinguished chief guests, special guests, chairman of the session, we are sea blindness, we are suffering from that. And that is true. I'm clear to quotation, the world ocean, you know, all these things, I'm clear to question, Elizabeth Barn Borges. Elizabeth Mann, she was my teacher at the Marine Institute Affairs at Dalhousie University when I was doing my master in marine management, and I went from BIS, sir. I went from BIS to scholarship, CISA scholarship. She is called United Nations gave her the title, the Queen of the Ocean, and she played a vital role in formulating Arbit Prado, who conceptualized the concept of common heritage of mankind. He was her friend, and they together worked on this. And then finally, he participated very actively in all negotiations leading to third UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. And in France, he's very popular also because France, France has a very, I did my PhD in France. So in France has a very big maritime zone, second, I think, 11 million square kilometers. That, of course, includes this overseas territory and many Indian Ocean Department. So in France, she's called the Ambassadrice de l'Océan et du Littoral, Ambassador of the Oceans and the Littorals. So তার কথা বলেছে, in the majority of countries, ocean affairs do not represent a central concern, but a matter subsidiary to other activities having higher authority. Thus, its political stature is generally low, which translates into the location of the activity at a lower level within governmental hierarchy, as well as into certain patterns of resource allocation, limited personnel funding, and low level of funding. This is the thing that I always talk about whenever I write something on marine affairs. We are indifferent to this. And I wrote an article about this public awareness, that is, in contemporary Bangladesh, these are the factors responsible for this inadequate knowledge on ocean, excessive preoccupation with land affairs, education system, less development activities, expensiveness of marine affairs, that means marine technology very expensive, maritime areas are disaster prone and non-political area. This I wrote in an article, okay, which was in a book, যেখানে আমার ভাই যে দেলোয়ার তারও একটা আর্টিকেল আছে আপনার, he wrote about I think বাংলাদেশের লুকিস পলিসি and its implications, তার একটা আর্টিকেল আছে এই বইটায়। তো যাই হোক, আমি এখন যাচ্ছি আপনার a prelude to my discussion. I have a prelude. আমি যাচ্ছি না, আমি ওশান তো জানি সবাই, resources, unexploited resources, the high seas, in all the zones. Okay, reference to war, ocean and seas is found since remote antiquity in Rome and Greek, probable parables, Hindus, Puranas, Old Testament, and the Holy Quran. Oceans have occupied an important place for their unimaginable beauty and resources. In the Holy Quran, water for all and for general welfare. This basic idea is set forth in a number of ayats, Quranic ayats. In particular, in Hindu religion, if you have some idea about Hindu mythology, you'll find how ocean played an important role. Narayan, see, he is born out of the water, and he lived in the ocean also. He's a big serpent called Ananta, and he also lived in the cosmos. But when he takes rest, he comes down to the ocean. So in that way, there are many parables, Quranic verses, and also our ayats from Quran, signifying the importance of ocean. তারপরে আমরা জানি the earth is called the blue planet because it contains 70% of the ocean contains 70% of the earth's surface, এটা জানি আমরা। তারপরে while the oceans cover 70% of the planet's surface, is account for 99% of the volume that is known to sustain life, most of which is still unknown. And the more we know how little we know. Elizabeth Mann Borges কথা এটা আমার না। Common heritage of mankind. This is another concept that you must take into consideration. Unlike in terrestrial domain where the nation states hold up to their territorial position quite covetously, the ocean domain, on the other hand, embraces the concept of common heritage of mankind, which cannot be appropriated by any state or legal or physical person. It is non-property. Then Ocean is a medium, quite different from the earth. The ocean forces us to think differently. Many terrestrial concepts simply do not find their resonance in the ocean domain. These concepts are property in the Roman law sense, sovereignty in the Westphalian sense, and territorial boundaries, which neither fish nor pollution in respect. Chairman sir, respect to Chairman sir. Bay of Bengal conference থাকলে হবে না আমাদের। So, I don't know how you're finding my presentation. Quest for equity in the oceans. This is another principle, which is very much relevant in the ocean. The system of ocean governance must display a special sensitivity to the needs and requirements of disadvantaged group due to geography, socio-economic condition, these are traditional methods of resource exploitation, etc. Then number two, the oceans should be seen as a domain where institution and arrangement should contribute to accelerating the pace of social and economic development in the developing countries, including those which are still without the capacity to benefit from the resources of the seas, and those who do not have access to it by reasons of their geography. Then another, the system of governance and management must recognize the legitimate interests of future generations. These are some of the foundation on which I have made my paper. But anyhow, খুব একটা জ্ঞান নাই আপনার। আমার এটা কেটে গেল কেন বুঝলাম না। Anyhow, this is all about here. I mean, some sort of about some of the landmark events that in the towards the development of UNCLOS 3. আমরা দেখছি যে আরবি প্রাডোস concept of common heritage. তারপরে আপনার দেখছি আপনার the UNCLOS, which is considered as the constitution of the ocean. It was remarked by Tomiko, who was the president of the third UN conference on the law of the sea in 1982. আচ্ছা, তারপর আমরা দেখি কিন্তু আমরা এটা constitution বলি ঠিকই, but then it is again substantiated by other soft laws. Even though UNCLOS is an international law, public law, but it is substantiated by other laws who originated from the Earth Summit of 1992, Rio Summit. Sustainable development are all important. That is Agenda 17, which talks absolutely about the marine affairs. এটা পড়ে দেখেন আপনারা আছে, আমি বলতে পারছি মনে হয়। তারপরে the concept of blue economy, তারপরে আসলে আমরা দেখলাম it was floated. Gunther Polly is nothing, that concept is nothing new. However, a newly concept, no, he was influenced by all these developments, development of UNCLOS, development of Rio Summit, sustainability, all these things, Agenda 17. তারপরে সে এসে লেখলো একটা বই আপনার Blue Economy. He's an economist, entrepreneur, and also an global civil society activist. লেখলো, he became very popular. ঠিক আছে। Then United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development 2000 Rio +20 also added something for the ocean, particularly taking idea because this was a conference which was devoted to green economy. সুতরাং এখান থেকে আপনার some ideas were borrowed. Okay, তারপরে আপনার তারপর 2015 আমরা দেখলাম যে আপনি এজেন্ডা ফর সাস্টেনেবল ডেভেলপমেন্ট হলো আপনার, এবং তার মধ্যে SDG গোলের মধ্যে SDG 74 deals with the life below water. তারপর থেকে the world really started getting conscious, more aware about the blue economy or ocean governance or whatever you say. Ocean governance, আমি এগুলো বলতে চাই না, আপনার it is the integrated conduct of the policy, action and affairs regarding the world ocean to protect ocean environment, etc. 4 pillars, আমি যেটা মনে করি, the legal pillar which sets up legal framework under which all activities in the oceans must be carried out. The political pillar which deals with action taken by intergovernmental bodies, very important. Then institutional pillar which represents the administrative mechanism needed to ensure the integrated approach. সবাই কিন্তু একই জিনিস আমাদের। সবার ডিস্ট্রিক্ট স্পিকার যারা বলেছেন সবাই এক ইন্টিগ্রেটেড কোঅর্ডিনেটেড, দিস ইজ বিকজ আনক্লোজ প্রিএমবেলের মধ্যে আছে, আমরা আনক্লোজ নিয়ে আনছি এখানে কোথায় না, all oceans activities are interrelated, so nothing can be seen as a whole. আনপ্লাস আমার বাইবেলের মতন আপনার এখানে আছে, সুতরাং ইন্টিগ্রেটেড না হলে হবে না, এটা সবাই বলেছে আমাদের ডিস্টিংগুইশড স্পিকার যারা আগে বলেছে। ইনস্টিটিউশনাল পিলার and need must be considered as a whole, in particular the enhanced coordination and cooperation between all national and international actors having a role to play in the management of the ocean. And finally, the capacity building pillar, that is very important, including আমাদের ক্যাপাসিটি করতে হবে। এবং আমি মনে করি এই দেশে বাংলাদেশে মোটামুটি আপনার রিয়েলি অ্যাডভান্স। প্রাইম মিনিস্টার, রেসপেক্টেড প্রাইম মিনিস্টার, after she enunciated or pronounced the, enunciated this policy of blue economy, অনেক কিছু হয়েছে আমাদের রিয়েলি, আমাদের ম্যারিন ইনস্টিটিউট হয়েছে, অনেক কিছু। সবার ব্যাপার হলো মোফাতে আপনার ব্লু ইকোনমি সেল হয়েছে, তারপরে আপনার মিনিস্ট্রি, তারপরে অনেক কিছু হয়ে যাচ্ছে আমাদের ডেভেলপমেন্ট, হ্যাঁ হয়েছে। এবং আমি মনে করি ভেরি কমেন্ডেবল। হ্যাঁ, অল্প সময়ের মধ্যে আপনার উইচ ক্যানট, একটা স্বাভাবিক ব্যাপার। আমার যেমন আমার সেক্টরে কিন্তু আই হ্যাভেন্ট মেনশন অ্যাবাউট ডিপ মাইনিং। ডিপ মাইনিং ইজ ইম্পসিবল টু ডু। পদ্মা ব্রিজ আমরা করেছি প্রাইম মিনিস্টার হাসিনা লিডারশিপে, সাচ এন ওয়ান্ডারফুল অ্যাচিভমেন্ট। কত বছর পরে করছি, তার আগে তো আমরা ব্রুকলিন ব্রিজ কত আগে হয়েছিল, ইন দ্য 90s তারা হয়েছিল আপনার। কিন্তু আমরা কতদিন পরে করছি, একদিন হবে আমাদের ডিপ মাইনিং, আমরা সমস্ত ম্যাঙ্গানিজ, নোডুলস, কপার, নিকেল সব পাবো আপনার। এখন বাট নট টাইম। আমার প্রায়োরিটি, আমি এখন প্রায়োরিটি যাচ্ছি আপনার। আমার প্রায়োরিটি হলো এটা, আমি যদি বাদ দিই একটু। আচ্ছা, একটা কথা হলো আমার হলো যে স্যার যেটা বলেছে আপনার ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, ওশান গভর্নেন্স কিন্তু আপনার ওশান ইজ ডিভাইডেড অ্যাজ পার দ্য আনক্লজ, ওশান ইজ ডিভাইডেড both vertically and horizontally. Territorial waters, EEZ, contiguous zone, then you have the continental shelf, then high seas. Vertically, divided vertically and horizontally. Management কিন্তু আপনি এমন করে করতে হবে আপনার। ম্যানেজমেন্ট আপনার আগে আপনি টেরিটোরিয়াল ওয়াটার করেন, তারপর আপনি ইকোনমিক জোনে করেন, আপনি স্পেসিফিক জোন, তারপর আপনি কন্টিনেন্টাল শেলফ, দেন ইউ গো টু হাই সিজ। It has to follow a procedure, you know. Actually, because ocean mediums are different, as I told you. Pollution, fish, they know no boundaries. এবং এক্সক্লুসিভ এগুলোর জন্য আমি সভারেন্টি, আমি বলেছি সভারেন্টি ইজ ফাংশনাল, সভারেন্টি ইজ নট ওয়েস্টফেলিয়ান, সভারেন্টি ইজ ফাংশনাল। যেটা যদি ইফ দ্য আদার স্টেটস ক্লেম যে আমাদের মাছগুলো স্ট্র্যাডলিং আর মাইগ্রেটরি ফিশ চলে যাচ্ছে আপনার, দেন ইউ হ্যাভ টু শেয়ার। Share it has to be shared. It cannot be, yeah, it can be shared. তার মানে জয়েন্ট ভেঞ্চার। স্যার রেসপেক্টেড আপনার খুরশিদ আলম স্যার আমাকে অনেক, হি ওয়াজ মাই মেন্টর অ্যাকচুয়ালি। আমি বিদেশ যখন আসলাম, আই টু ভিজিট হিম ভেরি ফ্রিকুয়েন্টলি ইন মিনিস্ট্রি অফ ফরেন অ্যাফেয়ার্স। স্যার যখন ইয়েগুলো আমরা যখন জিতলাম সমুদ্র বিজয়, স্যারের সঙ্গে একটা গেলাম, রান্দিভুতে পেলাম না আপনার, মানে হি ওয়াজ ভেরি বিজি অ্যাক্টিভ। পরে ওনার বাসায় গিয়েছিলাম আমি টু আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড। স্যার মনে আছে স্যার? স্যার এটা কেমন করে হলো স্যার, মায়ানমারের সঙ্গে এই জায়গাটা কেমন? বিকজ আমি যেটা পড়ে এসেছি আপনার ডালহৌসি ইউনিভার্সিটিতে, সেটার সঙ্গে আমার মিলতেছিল না। পরে স্যার বললো আমরা এই টেকনিক্যাল ইয়ে করছি, তার মানে দেয়ার আর ইউ ক্যান ডু। ওকে, ব্লু ইকোনমি এটা সবাই জানে, আর বলার দরকার নেই। আমি এখানে একটা জিনিস আমি বলি, আই মাস্ট অ্যাডমিট, আমি এখানে যে আমাদের ইয়াং মৌসুমি ইসলাম এন্ড লামিয়া মুস্তাক আছে, তাদের একটা আর্টিকেল আমি পড়েছিলাম, পাবলিশ ইন ব্রিটিশ জার্নাল ইন 2018। সেখানে তারা খুব ভালো ইয়ে করেছে আপনার, যে রোট ইট ভেরি ওয়েল। এবং আমি তারা বলেছে যে ব্লু ইকোনমিতে হলো একটা কম্পোনেন্টস নিয়ে আছে আপনার, সেই কম্পোনেন্টস গুলি আপনার blue economy as ocean as a capital, ocean as a livelihood, ocean as a sustainable development, etc. Okay, সুতরাং এটা আমাকে ভালো লেগেছে। এখন আমার হলো ব্লু ইকোনমি সেক্টর, আমি ফার্স্টে আমি যখন আর্টিকেল লিখেছিলাম ইন 2015-এ, তখন আমার প্রায়োরিটি ছিল অয়েল অ্যান্ড গ্যাস, মেরিন ফিশারিজ, মাইনিং মিনারেলস, শিপিং অ্যান্ড পোর্ট ফ্যাসিলিটিস, শিপ বিল্ডিং, শিপ ব্রেকিং, সল্ট প্রোডাকশন, কোস্টাল ট্যুরিজম, aquaculture, renewable blue energy, income from various renewable and various environmental resources in the coastal zone. এটা ছিল, বাট নাও আই হ্যাভ চেঞ্জ, এই সেমিনারের জন্য আই হ্যাভ চেঞ্জ মাই আইডিয়া যে না, আমাদের করতে হবে হলো আপনার, হ্যাঁ আমি এখন চেঞ্জ করে দিয়ে বলেছি যে ফার্স্টে আমাদের দিতে হবে ম্যারিন ফিশারিজ, তারপরে হলো আপনার ড্রাই ফিশ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ড্রাই ফিশ আমি কিছুদিন আগে আই বিন টু ফিল্ড ওয়ার্ক হ্যাঁ টাইম সেটা আমি এইটাই করতে চাইছি যে আমাদের সেক্টর কি করে ড্রাই ফিশ, তারপরে আপনার ম্যারিকালচার এগুলি করতে হবে আপনার, এবং ট্যুরিজম ইকো ট্যুরিজম যেটা বলেছি সেটা করতে হবে আপনার। প্রাইভেট অনেকে বলছেন যে সার্জে বলে যে ক্রুজার আসলে প্রাইভেট পিপল ক্যান ডু ইট, প্রাইভেট বিজনেসম্যান ক্যান ডু ইট, ক্রুজার তারপর তাছাড়া ফরগেট অ্যাবাউট ফরেন ট্যুরিস্ট, আমরা নিজেদের ইন্টারনালি আপনার প্রাইম মিনিস্টার যে পদ্মা ব্রিজ দ্যাট উইল এনহান্স the popularity of Kuakata bridge. You see, আমাদের লোকাল ট্যুরিস্টদের we can earn a lot of revenue. মেরিন ফিশারিজ আমার মতে ফার্স্ট আপনারা ফিশিং করতে পারছি না একেবারে। স্যার জানে আপনার সাড়ে একটা আপনার আর্টিকেল আমি পড়েছি, আপনি ডাউনলোড করেছি আপনার ইন্টারনেট থেকে, সেখানে আপনি মেরিন ফিশারিজের খুব ইম্পর্টেন্স দিয়েছেন আপনার। আমরা পেলাজিক ফিশ ধরতে পারি, ডেমার্সাল বেনথামিক ফিশ ধরতে পারি না বিকজ অফ দ্য টেকনোলজি। ট্রলার বিদেশে ওরা যা ইউজ করে, মাই গড ডিভাস্টেটিং আপনার they have sophisticated আপনার ভেসেল plus navigational charge, fishing charge, etc. Plus they are devastating in nature. They use dynamite and poisonous gas. তাই না স্যার? সুতরাং আমাদেরকে ইন দ্য কনক্লুশন স্যার, আপনি ব্লু ইকোনমি যেহেতু আপনার ইট ইজ টু বি ইন এ সাস্টেনেবল ম্যানার ফর আওয়ার ফিউচার জেনারেশন এটসেট্রা, আমাদের ওশান রিসোর্সেস আর টু বি এক্সপ্লয়েটেড ইন এ ভেরি prudent manner, keeping in mind সমস্ত আনক্লস সবসময় মাইন্ডে রাখতে হবে আপনার। ম্যানেজমেন্টের যেমন সেক্টরিয়াল ডিভিশন হয়েছে আপনার, যেমন ম্যানেজমেন্টের যেমন সেক্টর মানে ওশানের এমন ডিভিশনে টেরিটোরিয়াল ওয়াটার, ইজেট, কন্টিনেন্টাল, হাই সি তো আমাদের এখন স্বপ্নের মতন। ইট ইজ দ্য আমেরিকান ডোমেন, বিগ পাওয়ার ম্যারিটাইম ডোমেন। জাপান কি হোয়েল মারছে না আপনার? অ্যাম্বার্জিস ফ্রান্সরা আপনার ইয়াতে করে আপনার স্পাম হোয়েল থেকে আপনার নারী বুড়ি বিয়ে করে পারফিউম বানায়, হুইচ কস্ট আপনার $5,000 to $10,000। আমরা যে পারফিউম ইউজ করি কিন্তু আপনার $100 $150। সুতরাং ইট ইজ টু বি সাস্টেনেবল। ইন আদার ওয়ার্ডস, সবাই জানে সাস্টেনেবল, অল ওয়ার্ড ডিস্টিংগুইশড এন্ড ইলিমিনেটিং অডিয়েন্স সবাই জানে what is sustainable development. So with that I conclude my discourse, and I also once again thank the respected Director General of BISS to invite me as a chairperson, and the day has been a day for me to reminisce many of my past memories, because from BISS I built up my academic career and I served the institute for 26 years. Then I joined Jahangirnagar University. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your audience.
Thank you. Professor Dr. Abul Kalam Azad, I thank him for his wonderful presentation, and I think yes, 4 points I would like to highlight. One is that he has mentioned about the equity issue, meaning that this is a common heritage of human beings. So that there, I think the equity issue is very important, and for a country like Bangladesh, this is one of the element or principle that we should continue to highlight. And then he has mentioned about 4 pillars. I don't need to again repeat that, but another point that he has mentioned is an integrated management of oceans. So there, I think when you talk about blue economy, it has to be an integrated approach. I think our honorable chief guest also today mentioned about that as well. And another very important principal issue that I think Professor Azad has mentioned is the very concept of sovereignty. That complicates, but at the same time, that is a fundamental principle of statehood. Now we have to move away from exclusive concept of sovereignty to shared and functional aspect of sovereignty, particularly with regard to the management of the oceans. Otherwise, if we transfer our territorial sovereignty concept to the ocean management, then it will create more problems, and that will unnecessarily create conflict rather than collaboration and cooperation. So I think with regard to when we talk about our blue economy or maritime security, I think from Bangladeshi perspective or countries like us, we must continue to highlight that this is a common heritage, and we should emphasize on the concept of shared sovereignty, functional sovereignty, not the exclusive sovereignty that we generally practice in the land. Yes. So now I think it was the beginning, or I think it set the tone for further discussion. We have very distinguished panelists, as we know. And let me now invite Dr. Delwar Hussain, Professor of International Relations, Dhaka University, and also member of Public Service Commission. He will be speaking on maritime security and strategy in the Bay of Bengal, which is very important because we know about these issues, but what could be the possible strategy? So let's hear from Professor Dr. Delwar Hussain.
No. There will be another one. This is my slide. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. The Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Dr. Shamsul Alam, Minister of State, Minister of Planning, Honorable Chair of the Session. I am also present here, the Honorable Special Guest, Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam, and Chairman of the BISS, and Honorable DG of BISS, and my learned speakers, distinguished participants, Assalamu alaikum, and very good day. Well, I mean, I'm taking you to a little different world, but before that, let me thank my former workplace, BISS, to give me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the topic. You see, the topic is quite vast and wide. You can see from the title, Maritime Security and Strategy in the Bay of Bengal. Okay, so what I will do, I'll try to present a sort of big picture or a larger picture, focusing on understanding the dynamics, particular security dynamics in the Bay of Bengal, identifying security challenges and strategic elements that we see over the past at least one decade, and also highlighting some emerging trends. Also emphasizing some kind of cooperative security framework for the Bay of Bengal, and also to speak few words on Bangladesh perspective on this issue. I mean, I shared, I mean, in my last slide, some of the headlines that came when you search Google about the Bay of Bengal, and you will see that from 2007, there had been enormous attention by the extra-regional powers and also regional powers about the Bay of Bengal, and how China, USA, Japan, and India, and also other littoral states of the Bay of Bengal demonstrate their interest about the Bay of Bengal. That actually gives an idea that its criticality and its importance. And here also you can see, I mean, we are talking about water, about ocean, about sea, the Bay of Bengal, which is the largest basin in the world. And there are several points here. See, because of time constraint, I will not touch all these points. But you see, two things. One is that we are talking about the Bay of Bengal, where actually about 1/4 of humanity in the world living in the bordering states of the Bay of Bengal. And most importantly, 400 million people are living in its catchment areas. So you can see that the fate of at least these 400 million people is very much connected with the Bay of Bengal. And then also very important to understand the importance of Bay of Bengal in terms of not only seeing it as a new theater of great power rivalry or sort of competition, also it is what my predecessor highlighted, that the Bay of Bengal is a source of the livelihood and the economic vitality of the littoral countries, and Bangladesh is definitely is one of them, and it is very important. So we know all about maps and other things, how actually Bay of Bengal is located and how it is surrounded, and its importance goes with economy, geopolitics, infrastructure, and connectivity, and also it is related to some extent domestic politics. And also you can see from land the importance of the Bay of Bengal. So if you see how China has built a pipeline to connect Yunnan with the Bay of Bengal in Myanmar, and then you can see how India is connecting Myanmar and Kolkata, and then there is a chicken neck, although it is in the land, but it has also implications with the Bay of Bengal. So there are some conceptual issues since the title is Maritime Security and Maritime Strategy. And security, you know, I mean, it is very broad concept today. At some point of time, it was very narrow and very traditional, military oriented. Now it has changed a lot. And it is also applicable in the case of maritime zone or maritime domain. And also strategy is very much related to security, and it has also different meanings, different dimensions. But the critical question is whose security matters here? Is it security of the littoral state, or is it the security of the maritime zone? So if we try to understand the reference point of security, so what we would like to focus on, is it the ecology, or is it resources, or is it the geopolitics or relations between or among the states who are in this region and also who are coming from other regions to have their own interest? And this is one sort of very comprehensive understanding of security when you talk about maritime security in the Bay of Bengal, where actually maritime security is largely connected by some narratives at the larger level, like marine environment, economic development, national security, and human security. And then we have some details, and one of the details, and some details have been actually very cogently shared by our special guest and also by our chief guest, how actually we can explore things in the Bay of Bengal for Bangladesh. And maritime strategy, of course, you know, strategy is a sort of actions or course of actions that, or even a framework that actually used for achieving the objectives, depending on who are the actors, whether it is state or any organization or any non-state actor. So in the case of maritime strategy, there are two types of strategy: defensive and offensive, or there can be other dimensions. It can be related to national strategy, grand strategy, and also operational strategy. So here you can see if it is sort of defense strategy, then what are the goals, what are the motivation, and what are the approach. So particularly if we divide or see the difference between defensive and offensive, we can see the goal is bit different. So in the case of offensive strategy, so regional dominance is the primary motivation, primary goal. And then also for defensive strategy is a maritime status quo that we normally see, and where actually we see a lot of cooperation and some sort of community involvement. So now coming to the dynamics, there are some factors which determine the regional maritime security dynamics. And if you see the literature that has actually come up by the scholars, they generally try to see it more from a geopolitical term. So we definitely, there is a combination of issues or interest in the Bay of Bengal, both geopolitical and geoeconomic. Of course, there is a contention. I mean, some can singularly emphasize on geo-economic factors in terms of resources, in terms of economic prospects. But these are true, but we cannot avoid. I wish sovereignty could be functional, but sovereignty is very much Westphalian. We cannot get rid of it, and this is the fact of life. When we see things, whether in the ocean or whether in the land. So there is a shift from geo-economic to geopolitical, and also we can see from the strategies of different countries in the region, from India to Myanmar, there have been new missions, new doctrines, and new technologies to deal with maritime issues. But what is the very important determinants of regional dynamics is this is the only sea domain in the world, Bay of Bengal, where actually there is no sovereignty related dispute among the littoral countries, particularly with the resolution of disputes between Bangladesh and Myanmar, Bangladesh and India. This particular space has become absolutely a peaceful water in principle. I mean, there is no sovereignty related problems, but there are problems. So there are issues like balance and order in the Bay of Bengal, missions and roles, naval access and naval basing, also sea-based nuclear missile arsenals in the region, maritime expeditionary capabilities in the region. We can have some understanding of the capabilities of the littoral countries in the Bay of Bengal. But now the security challenge, we all know about, we can broadly divide them as the traditional challenges and non-traditional challenges. Sometimes, generally, we focus more on the non-traditional challenges, which are really significant. And from the Bangladesh perspective, it is really important. And when we talk about blue economy, actually, our focus is more on non-traditional aspects. But we cannot avoid, given the Ukraine war and some changes that we see today, it's a very substantive changes. If you follow the policy statements by the great powers and also regional powers and middle powers, we cannot avoid. So we cannot, in fact, avoid the truth that there is a divergence in threat perception in the Bay of Bengal, littoral countries and also extra-regional countries. And the rivalry is very important. You know about C. Rajamohan has written a book on Samudra Manthan, where he actually graphically presented how actually Sino-Indian rivalry determines the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. So there are factors to understand the regional, traditional threats. And although we have resolved the maritime dispute, but there are like legacies. I mean, so okay, so I have to skip some slides. And non-traditional security challenges from SLOC to presence of death zones in the maritime area. Then country level strategic elements. India has its own maritime strategy, and which was announced in 2015. It's a very comprehensive strategy where they have very rightly mentioned this ensuring secure seas. I mean, it is, I think there is no debate on this particular theme. And they have really identified very well that traditional threats and non-traditional threats are getting blurred. And other littoral countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Sri Lanka, they have also given serious importance to maritime zone from economic and also from geopolitical perspective. There has been modernization of naval forces and also emphasis on creating navy as a deterrence. And there is a strategy of sea denial and maintaining littoral defense. And so these are and also for the USA, if you just see the 2021 report on Indo-Pacific strategy, you will find they have identified 5 objectives, which are, in priority of the United States. And then we see in the case of USA, they are monitoring Sino-Indian rivalry, containing China and maintaining dominance and seeking advantages. And China has actually changed its role from simply a limited maritime security agenda. They now have become quite assertive. And then, strategic choices. There are some choices. Of course, these choices are very important. How we can actually deal with security in the Bay of Bengal. We can definitely focus on domestic capability building, which is truly significant, and we have to emphasize both on economic development and modernization of defense. Bilateral cooperation and partnerships are important. We know about some regional cooperation mechanisms. Of course, BIMSTEC's there, but there are very specific like Milan, HADR, information sharing. And what is very important, we can see alliance buildings and coalition buildings in this region. Of course, Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. We know about BRI, IPS, Quad, AUKUS, and IPEF in the Pacific Economic Framework. They're all creating new situation in the Bay of Bengal. And then emerging trends, of course, there is no doubt that there has been intensification of great power rivalries in the Bay of Bengal and growing naval buildup. And there is a competition between US-led coalition building and China-led coalition building, and emphasis on strategic partnerships and undermining rules-based order at sea. Although there is a free and Indo-Pacific, free and open Indo-Pacific, but on the ground, what we see actually these rules and order, rules-based order is really undermined, and there has been growing uncertainty in the region from a security point of view. So Bangladesh perspective, of course, Bangladesh is following a very proactive engagement and open to all strategy and blue economy based development approach, emphasizing interdependence and multilateralism. And also we focus adequately on the issues of protecting our national territorial sovereignty and integrity, and protection of maritime and riverine trade, the protection of EEZ and continental shelf, and deterring the non-traditional threats. And also we know that our maritime focus is also to transform Bangladesh from a buyer navy to a builder navy. So we can refer to our Prime Minister's point that we don't want to fight with anyone. We want peace, but we want to develop our forces with modern technology, keeping pace with the times so that we can properly face any attack. So I emphasize on the need for cooperative maritime security framework, which is very important. And we need to bring back confidence building measures for among the regional powers in the Bay of Bengal. And finally, what I think we have to deal with the Cold War situation in the at sea. It is the reality. And we need to emphasize, of course, we have to depend on cooperation, but the situation is there and we need to promote maritime connectivity. We need to resolve humanitarian crisis like the Rohingya problem. And of course, the twin challenges like COVID-19 global pandemic and the war in Ukraine have impact on the Bay of Bengal. Proactive role of the littoral powers for building the Bay of Bengal community for mutual prosperity and peace. This is very important. And although we know, situations are not always favorable, but there should be a visionary leadership to promote Bay of Bengal community, primarily based on BIMSTEC's commitment, and that might help us to deal with maritime security and strategy in terms of challenges and also in terms of opportunities. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Professor Delor was dealing with such a huge subject. I hesitated to interrupt him, but well, I'm sorry that I had to cut you short. But this is a very interesting area, and I should say anticipatory, unexplored areas. We have to do a lot of work in this area, and he has mentioned about the internal issues regarding the Bay of Bengal, but also the external issues that are now having implications from that. And the extra-regional powers are also become, I would say, become partners in this process. So I think I'm sure that our very distinguished audience might have a lot of question, observation on the presentation. Thank you very much, Professor Delor Hussain, for very, I would say, stimulating, thoughtful presentation. And let me now go to our third presenter, Ms. Moutushi Islam. She's a research fellow at BIS here. And Our topic would be nexus between maritime security and blue economy. She will actually summarize or link the past two presentations and their implications for Bangladesh, particularly in the post-COVID era. So, Motushi Islam, I would appreciate if you could finish within 10 minutes if possible, because we are already running late. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, respected chair, for giving me the floor. Honorable special guest, respected audience, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to all of you. I think being the third speaker of the session, the challenge is on me to add something which is more relevant. So what I'll do, I'll try to repeat any I'll try to avoid any repetition. As you can see from the title of my presentation, I will be addressing basically two questions. First, what is the nexus between blue economy and maritime security? And second, what are the implications of such linkages for Bangladesh in the post-COVID era? Chairman Sir rightly pointed out that we are still in the pandemic. However, I meant the period after the lockdown on the, the restrictions on the people and the businesses have been reduced, right? So in doing so, I will be looking into how the blue economy and maritime security are interlinked. Then I will briefly identify what are the new trends and potential impacts of the emerging global security scenario, specifically the impact and implications of COVID-19 on the blue economy and maritime security of Bangladesh, followed by a way forward. So what is blue economy? Previous speakers have already talked about the concept of blue economy having no commonly accepted definition, and diversity of views exist. However, Ajas sir already talked about that there are four dominant discourses through which the blue economy is interpreted. The blue economy experience, ladies and gentlemen, around the world are diverse and context specific. We have to remember that. But among them, the natural capital, livelihood, good business, and driver of innovations are major languages. I will just briefly talk about it. The first lens is oceans as natural capital. It focuses on the environmental protection and restoration and is largely favored by the environmental non-governmental organization. The second lens is the oceans and livelihood lens, which where food security and poverty alleviation is favored, and it is largely favored by the SIDS countries. On the other hand, oceans as goods business lens blue economy is regarded as a source of economic growth. The term blue economy and ocean economy are often used interchangeably by these countries. Finally, oceans as driver of innovation, where the central concept is lens is focused on research and innovation. That is mainly followed by Australia and European Union. So now what about maritime security? Delosa has rightly pointed out that maritime security is a fluid concept and it has no definite meaning and depends on the varying depends on the actors. However, it can be regarded as addressing a range of traditional and non-traditional issues with the view to securing maritime space. As you can see from the slides, when we look into the literature, three schools of thought in regards to the study of maritime security we can identify. Maritime security is mainly regarded as a matter of sea power in the realist school of thought. This school of thought has tended to prioritize the top-down or structural influences on international order at sea, including global power shifts, changing threat perception, naval modernization. Conversely, when you look into the liberal schools, emphasize the role of various international regimes governing activities at sea. The promotion of the stable maritime regime, what Ajas sir was talking about, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea principle is the main concern. On the other hand, when we look into the constructivist school of thought, they focus on how the concept of maritime security comes to be through actions, interactions, and perceptions. We know one of the renowned name is Christian Bueger, who has identified frameworks or how to deconstruct the concept of maritime security by various actors. So how are these two concepts interlinked? Scholars like Christian Bueger, Michel Voigt, Kamal Azmi, Michael McArthur, they argue that there are clear linkages between maritime security and blue economy. Why? Maritime security is seen as an enabler to blue economy. It is considered essential to supporting the blue economy in a range of significant ways. Just think of marine protection laws. It needs to be enforced, right? When we have enacted the Territorial Waters and Maritime Zone Amendment Act, just think of who will enforce it. Besides, blue crimes directly undermine the economic development. Insecurity prevents investment. So guarding against IU fishing or piracy is required. Without a sufficient degree of security, we cannot think of, having a blue economy. Then also maritime security enables blue economy by providing important oceanographic data to the maritime industries. For example, Bangladesh Navy, they have a research and survey ship named BNS Onushandhan, which collects necessary information and statistical data which is related to blue economy. Then on the other side of the equation, maritime security requires the development of the blue economy as well, as lack of employment opportunities creates the incentives for blue crime. A core factor in the spread of maritime insecurities, violence, crime is the welfare of the coastal communities. Just think of who are responsible for the blue crimes in the Bay of Bengal. Most of the time, it is the marginalized communities. They do not reap the benefit of the blue economy. In response, they turn to maritime crimes as a source of income. So the two agendas are definitely interdependent. Our respected chief guests, special guests, they have identified the opportunities and challenges of the blue economy. Despite these extraordinary prospects and already the existing challenges, there is a need to keep an eye on the emerging challenges as well, ladies and gentlemen. Look at some of the headlines of the past years. The emerging global security scenario impacted the supply chain, hurt the economics, and hampered maritime transportation. The crisis not only affected the blue economy sectors, but also had implications for maritime security issues. Let us first look into the impact of emerging global security scenario on the some of the blue economy sectors. For example, fisheries. If you see, COVID-19 has affected the legal operations in Bangladesh due to disrupted community chains, a significant lack of consumer demand. For instance, one study identified that the frequency of fish consumption has significantly reduced during the pandemic. Lockdown measures have also resulted in unemployment among the fishing community in Bangladesh. One study finds that 88% of the fishers reported that they could not go out for fishers jointly due to COVID-19 restrictions, and the incomes of 86% of them dropped during the pandemic. What about the shipping sector? As we know that Chattogram port handles 98% of the total container throughput in the country. COVID-19 induced lockdown had severely affected the port congestion in this area. This high congestion of congestion dropped the performance of the port. As you can see that in 2021, Chattogram port ranked 67 on the list of top 100 ports published in UK-based Lloyd lists. It ranked 58 on the last year, and it has slipped 9 notches. The country's main seaport handled 2.8 million TEU containers in 2020, down by 8% compared to 2019, when it handled 3 million TEU containers. What about the marine tourism? It has severely affected the pandemic. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council 2021 Economic Impact Report, the travel and tourism sectors contributed 3% to national GDP, which has decreased to 1.9% in 2020 due to COVID-19 restrictions. However, in 2021, it has saw sharing increases and 2.2%. So whatever the situation of maritime security issues, ladies and gentlemen, I would briefly talk about piracy and armed robbery. As you know, that piracy and armed robbery have at times been a source of serious concerns for some of the Bay of Bengal litters like Bangladesh and India. However, piracy and armed robbery remain a limited problem throughout the rest of the region, and the sea robbers in the area is some way different from worldwide maritime piracy, lacking the capacity to venture into the deep sea and commit piracy. They are limited to basically armed robbery and petty theft. We saw in 2020, there is a surge in piracy in various parts of the world. Research showed that a decreased economic opportunities often result in a rise in piracy activity. Similar correlation has been made by the analysts that the economic downturn of COVID-19 has aggravated the piracy in Southeast Asian nations. What about the situation in the Bay of Bengal? As you can see from the table, an analysis of the past trends shows that the piracy and armed robbery of ships were a downward trend between 2014 and 2016.
You have to accelerate.
Sorry. Okay. So you can see in 2020, the number has increased from 2019, but in 2021, the it has not even a single event of piracy. So for the time being, it seems that the impact of the pandemic on piracy and armed robbery in the Bay of Bengal is minimal. Then look about the IU fishing. If you look into the data, although IU fishing incidents have increased in some parts of the world, but we cannot say same in the Bay of Bengal. It has increased in 2020 when it was 148 incidents, but in 2021 it has only 58 incidents, and it has said that the sharp decrease is attributed to enhanced enforcement operations. Just briefly talk about the marine pollution. What are the new emerging trends? Just to think about the marine plastic problems, the use of masks, that is a new component. One study shows that how only face masks will contribute to marine plastic pollution in the Bay of Bengal. It is estimated that more than 3 lakh tons of plastic waste are generated from face masks by the Bay of Bengal litters, resulting in more than 1 lakh tons of debris into the Bay of Bengal.
1 minute.
Okay, sir. 2 minutes, sir, please. Marine surveillance, there are newer trends as well. When we talk about that, the economic crisis created the global and may lead to defense budget reduction. That's just a food for thought. Multinational and bilateral exercises which enhance cooperative engagement may have to be reduced. So what can be the way forward, ladies and gentlemen? Sensitizing the important interplay between maritime security and blue economy is necessary. Second would be, it is necessary to formulate and strengthen legal frameworks to better integrate blue economy and maritime security considerations. Earlier, our respected chief guest and special has mentioned about the Blue Economy Development Work Plan. We have the Territorial Waters and Maritime Zone Amendment Act, where all the issues of maritime security and blue economy have come up adequately. I must comment Maritime Affairs Unit for that. Again, developing a proper institutional framework is required as well. Active engagement of the security personnel in the blue economy planning process is necessary. There is no alternative to pursuing blue maritime diplomacy vigorously, as tangible international cooperation is essential for ensuring maritime security. Our previous speakers have talked about that, but I would focus on Indian Ocean Rim Association. We have become chair of the Indian Ocean Rim Association. We have to target Indian Ocean Rim Association for that. So in conclusion, I would echo Christian Boeger that maritime security and blue economy agendas are two sides of the same coin. We need to embrace the nexus between both the concerns. The pandemic certainly has pointed out the significance of ocean governance more than ever. What we need is to identify ways how maritime security practitioners and those developing the blue economy can work hand in hand in order to protect the oceans. Thinking both agendas together will open the path to new synergies and contribute to safe, sustainable management of the ocean. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Motushi. I'm sorry that I had to be tough on you. Forgive me for this. Now we have Dr. Mahfuzul Kabir. Mahfuz, 10 minutes for you also. Sorry. We want to have some time for discussion because it's very stimulating kind of issues are being raised. And so, Mahfuz, if you can finish by 10 minutes, then we'll have some discussion before we conclude. Thank you.
Thanks, respected chair of the session, respected chief guest, special guest, and respected chair and director general of the institute, and also the esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen. So today is, I think, a special day for all of us. All the panelists are originated from BISS, and we are talking about the water, the blue water, and it's very important thing, as already mentioned by the honorable chief guest and special guest, and also the chairman and the director general of the institute, and all the in fact fellow panelists. So I'll be actually summarizing the policies that Bangladesh government has adopted on the blue economy. So especially in the three special documents. One is the Bangladesh Data Plan, which was prepared, and also in fact the first the presentation was made by the honorable chief guest in this institute on the Bangladesh Data Plan back in 2018. And then we have the document which is called the 8 5-year plan, in which the theme is quite elaborated. and also the Vision 2041 document, which is called the second perspective plans. And that plan has also elaborately covered. But if we see the regional, in fact, organizations, I think the only organization is BIMSTEC. So the Bay of Bengal is, in fact, initiative for multi-sectoral technical and economic cooperation. And it has, now you see the charter, the BIMSTEC charter, in which I think all the objectives are related to the, in fact, the Bay of Bengal and its development, its growth and poverty reduction and the active collaboration, mutual assistance. And if we see the summit level, in fact, discussion and decision, we find that the leaders have emphasized on the importance of the blue economy, which is a big, in fact, achievement. And the charter has also, in fact, reflected on in this tone. And they decided to establish an intergovernmental expert group to develop the action plan on the blue economy. So I think this is a clear policy direction from the BIMSTEC side and my fellow panelists have already mentioned about the IORA, which is also very important in terms of our leadership from Bangladesh. So, and I think it also has a clear guideline on the blue economy. So this is number two. Number three has already mentioned by the chief guest, the blue economy in Bangladesh development plan into. So it's the development space. So as we can clearly understand, but we have to realize the thing. We can see the surface, but what is under the water, so that we hardly know. So that's the big problem. We don't know the reservoir of gas or on mineral and under the ocean water. So that's a big problem. And we also don't have very unfortunately, we don't have the stock of the fish. So if we consider the one of the most important things, the resources from the sea, then I think fishery. So, but we don't have the kind of accounting. So Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics, in fact, I trained a lot, in fact, rounds of training that I provided in the Bureau of Statistics, starting from 2016. So on the ocean accounting. So, and I think they, even ESCAP, they have also provided the support to the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics, but we didn't undertake any kind of impact accounting, which is very unfortunate. So we have the enormous potential on the, in fact, our Bay of Bengal, but we don't have the accounting, even very simple information, the age structure of the fishes. So that is still unknown. So, and there are a lot of other things that we don't know. So that is the thing that we have to know. So we have the, in fact, there's a clear guideline from the, in fact, the Honorable Prime Minister. He's very much interested. If you see the location of the chief hydrographers, so this position is located in the Armed Forces Division under the Prime Minister's office, and there is a 25-member committee, which is in fact headed by the Principal Secretary of the Prime Minister's office. So I think there is a direction from the Honorable Prime Minister, and we also have the, in fact, Blue Economy Cell, which is unfortunately, in fact, located in a very awkward ministry, but very, in fact, very relevant ministry is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it, in fact, looks after the, in fact, diplomatic parts of the blue economy, so which is commendable. And one thing, the Honorable Chief Guest has clearly mentioned that we need a separate ministry or at least a separate entity to look after this, the development aspect. But I personally think that, yes, we need the, in fact, maritime zonal planning and technical aspects that on which we have to have a separate kind of institution. But there are two aspects. One is the, in fact, developmental planning. So Ministry of Planning is in fact in charge of that. So we have the different plan, but I think we have to have a special mega plan on the blue economy. And in fact, the Ministry of Planning can do that, but we have to have an agency ministry, which will implement the whole thing. So there are a lot of things, and there is a constant need of, in fact, coordination by all the relevant ministries. So that these are the three, I think, important aspects that we have to keep in mind. So this is number one. Number two is the, in fact, as I already mentioned, in fact, if we see the Bangladesh Development Plan, so it has, in fact, time frame of implementing many different issues on the blue economy. So there are two, in fact, time spans. One is short term, 2016 to 30, and then medium term and long term, 2051 to 2100. And one very important thing has been mentioned by the Honorable Chief Guest. It's and also by the special guest. So it's the carbon sequestration by the ocean. So I think there are two aspects. One is, in fact, geosphere, biosphere, and ocean sphere. But these three are interlinked. So that is very important thing. And ocean is very much vulnerable. And so is the Bay of Bengal. So there's a huge debris. And in fact, spillages, so that's very important thing. And when ocean health is very important, it's very critical and threatened. So I think whatever we do in the name of the development of the Bay of Bengal, and in fact, we already have the, in fact, we have identified the, in fact, gap in terms of investment. So investment planning is absent by the private sector, and the government has clearly directed regarding the need for, in fact, investment, not only from the domestic sources, but also from the international sources. And EU, China, India, and other countries, they are constantly, in fact, supporting us in terms of exchange of information and also in the capacity building. But still, I think there is a need for additional support in terms of training and in fact, in the scientific parts. So, and tourism, land reclamation. So land reclamation is a very important thing. And now we are getting new lands, even though there is a prediction that the parts of the Bay of Bengal will be inundated by 20, in fact, 15%, sometimes 25%, but still we understand that we are reclaiming the land. We are getting the new land. So there is a need for planning on the Bay of Bengal, so that we can, in fact, utilize this part of land. Renewable energy, I think that is a very important thing. So we are talking about, and very clearly mentioned in the planning document, the one of the only, in fact, kind of energy, renewable energy, which is, in fact, wave energy. But I think there are 3 others we are undermining. So one is the, in fact, temperature, in fact, the thermal gradient, and another is salinity gradient, and there is another. So in fact, I wrote in a chapter, detailed chapter in the book, which was published in this year, in this month. So, and we understand the need for, in fact, renewable energy, and now we see the crisis in the energy. So we have to understand the, in fact, the possibility of the ocean in providing the, in fact, sustained, in fact, uninterrupted supply of power from the ocean. So this is number 4. And I think there are other things. So in the perspective plan, so I would comment in fact, the volume of plans and things on the perspective plan 2021 and 41. So there are a lot of things, and it has continued the pledges of the Bangladesh Stella plan and also the 8-5-year plan. So I think the 3 documents are interrelated, and there are a lot of guidelines. But the thing is that we have to identify the priorities. So there are, in fact, materials in the plan, and there's a huge, in fact, support from the government in terms of planning and others. But I think we have to identify the priorities. So what would be the priorities? One would be the shipping. So that would be, because it's related to the trade. And also there is a scope of huge investment. So, and there are others, like, I mean, the forward and backward linkages. So there are a lot of things, and there's a scope of huge earning, export earning of the services related to the transport, ocean transportation. And also there is another related thing, which is the, in fact, tourism. So now we don't have the, in fact, deep sea cruise. So that is a in fact, deficit from our side, but we have the investment only located in Cox's Bazar. So we have, in fact, now we have the Great Podda Bridge, and there's a huge potential of investment in terms of, in fact, facilitating the tourism sector in Kuakata and other places. And if we see the other thing, just 1 minute, sir. So, and if we now see the potential of Paira, in fact, Paira port, seaport, in fact, so, but the problem is, in fact, trapped. So, and also we also have the other ports, in fact, Mongla port and also the Chitanga ports. So the same problem is trapped, but we have the other, in fact, the emerging port, in fact, which is Matarbari. So I think we can have we can in fact, utilize the potential of the ports, but I think there are other 2 issues basically. In fact, the collaboration in the Bay of Bengal is related to the Sundarbans and the joint management, and in fact saving the ecosystem, which can in fact save us, in fact, regarding if we consider the threats of climate change. So I think there is a need for collaboration, and it's not specifically mentioned in the planning document. So we need this, and we have to have the kind of whole planning of the in fact, Bay of Bengal, the development planning, which is one part of the planning, and also the technical part. If we see the whole maritime zone and its protection, so we have to have the zone. And now we understand the warmth and fragrance of the Indo-Pacific. Many of us are frightened in terms of, in fact, expansion of the ideas and also in terms of other kind of planning. but we have to understand the potential, and we have to think about not thinking about the negative aspect, but we have to understand the dynamics of the region and extra-regional powers. But we need to, in fact, secure our interest in the Bay of Bengal. So with this, I would like to thank everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Mohammed. Sorry again, very unpleasant work I have to do today. I know that these are scholars, so they have done a lot of work, a lot of things to say, but unfortunately, I had to stop them. But sorry again, but thank you so much. Wonderful presentation, and I think that you may have some more to contribute. Now, we have got 10, 12 minutes for open discussion. So the floor is open. Please identify yourself and raise question. And if you can raise specific questions to our panelists, do that. Or if you have a comment, please make it short and brief. Thank you. I think let me start from the back and I'll come to the front. Yes. Microphone, please.
Thank you, sir, giving me the opportunity. I am Dr. Tanvir Hossain Chaudhary, Assistant Deputy Chief from Department of Fisheries. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Now, I said that on the blue economy, fisheries is the most important part, and now it is a very important and also give the very cash crop from the blue economy. And now fisheries sector contribute 6.8 million metric ton of fish from the sea, and also contribute 17% from our industrial fisheries and 83% from our artisanal fisheries. Now I explain this. How can we interfere into the blue economy? In blue economy, we can separate it in three parts, especially the coastal part, marine part, and high sea part. For the coastal part, we also done into the mariculture, especially the seaweed aquaculture and shrimp and others. And for the marine, into the exclusive economic zone, we can harvest from our current fishing fleet. And for the high sea, for the legal framework of the high sea, and Bangladesh also member of the IOTC, Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. And for the high sea fisheries, Bangladesh is permitted, and Bangladesh have the allocation criteria. So it is very, very important for the high sea. But into the high sea, we have very, very less investment. Bangladesh, in Department of Fisheries, we have one project, the tuna ship project, tuna catching project, and we collect the 3 ship from 2022, but now it is into the category C category project, and maybe the disruptive of the financing. So I request to our planning minister that please consider about our tuna catching, because into the high sea, Department of Fisheries have one of intervention. It is very, very important. And in Palau Convention,
I think your point is taken, well taken. I think let us have stay with one suggestion, because we have got a lot of questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Participants. Thank you, Tanvi. I think let me go to the online audience. We have got very distinguished personalities. Mr. General Aminul Karim.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you have a question or comment?
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Mr. Chair. My question will be directed to Mr. Mahfouz Kabir, but anybody can take it on. This is regarding land reclamation. Now, there is something called in the Bay of Bengal, the source of no ground. Are we working on that? Because this has a direct impact on the blue economy of Bangladesh. Most of the silts from the Himalayan basin are drained out from the source of no ground. Now, I attended a seminar in the King's College where they have got 2 ideas. One is that we can get another Bangladesh in the Bay of Bengal, or Bangladesh will be eaten up by the climate change effect. Your comments on that? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Now, let me, yes, Cornel.
Thank you, sir. This is Cornel Iftekhar, Research Director, former Research Director of this institute. Sir, my question is to Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam, Secretary Maritime Affairs Unit. As he has mentioned that there are already about 150 million metric tons of polythene in the seabed, and it is going to be 850 million metric ton in next 30 to 50 years, which is more than the quantity of fish resources we have. My question is, what is the international plan to get rid of it from the seabed? And another question is there any plan of Bangladesh government we have that to integrate the maritime security with the satellite that we have, Bangabandhu satellite we have on the space, or is there any plan to acquire any defense satellite to do this? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'll go back to Admiral. Let me collect the question and then okay.
Sir, Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity. I'm Brigadier General Shams, retired. Sir, presently, sir, I'm working with CBGA, Center for Bangladesh and Global Affairs. Sir, I normally watch, sir, TV channel of Japan, NHK. There I find that these people, they love the sea and they try to get benefit out of the sea. Now, my question is how we can attract our investors to invest in the sea and the ocean and to get benefit out of there, because I think we have a lot of what should I say, barriers, and we need to overcome those barriers to get a perfect result. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Siddiqui bhai.
Thank you. From the discussion that blue economy and maritime economy is the two sides of the coin, but I find there is another side of the coin. That is our capacity to explore this economy. I was in a TV discussion with two experts. One is the ex-managing director of BAPEX and the ex-chairman of Petro Bangla. And according to discussion, we don't want to recruit or have an agreement with the foreign overseas companies for exploration in the sea, oil and gas. And again, we don't have that expertise. So should we wait for gaining expertise and knowledge years together, while Myanmar and India already exploring and in Bay of Bengal and in other sites. So it is a question whether what we do, why we are undecided on this subject. Thank you.
I think I'll go back to Admiral Khoshev for an answer. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor. I am Professor Tawhid Faruq. I was the retired Director General of Ministry of Women and Children Affairs. The thing which I came to know many things from here, which was not known to me. But thing is, the ocean has got a very important role in our education, in our economical, social, environmental, and ecological life. That is different thing. But the findings here, this is what I think that there is something that's our foreign Secretary Minister of Foreign Affairs emphasizes on capacity and capability. That's a very important thing. We have lot of capacities, but if we don't have the capabilities, then nothing will be done. And our minister, State Minister of Planning, explained that the different ministries, very difficult, interministerial problem is very difficult to implement any project, which I faced so many times. So if we can have we emphasis on the single ministry, I think we can improve that. And other point is that this ocean management, that's very important. These three things, I think we can emphasize on that, and we can think of on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone from the online participants? Okay. Salahuddin bhai, yeah. The last
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much. This is Salahuddin Ahmed. I'm former member of Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission, and I was also a faculty and broadcaster. I presented television and radio news in English for 3.5 decades last. আসলে এখানে একজন মাত্র বাংলা স্পিকার বাংলা বুঝবেন না ছিলেন, উনি এখন নেই, সুতরাং আমি একটু বাংলায় বলবার স্বাধীনতা চাইছি, কারণ আই ওয়ান্ট টু স্পিক মাই হার্ট, এবং প্রাণীর ভাষায় না বললে আসলে বাংলা মানে কথাগুলো বলা যাচ্ছে না। একটা হচ্ছে যে এটা সাগর নিয়ে যেহেতু কথা, সেহেতু পুরোটা সাগরের মতো, প্রশ্ন সাগরের মতো, বিবেচনা অজস্র। সেখানে আমি দুটো তথ্য আমাকে ভীষণ অনুপ্রাণিত করেছে। একটা হচ্ছে যে নারায়ণ উনি নেমে আসেন বিশ্রাম নিতে সাগরে, একটা তথ্য। আরেকটা হচ্ছে আমাদের কোরআন শরীফে বলা আছে যে ওয়াটার ইজ ফর অল। এই দুটো জানবার পরে আমার খুব আশা করতে ইচ্ছে করছে যে সুবিচার এবং পক্ষপাতহীনতা কাজে লাগবে। আজকে সকালেও হেডলাইন দেখে এলাম যে লোডশেডিং চলছে, গ্রামে বেশি শহরে কম। এই যে পক্ষপাত বা সুবিচারের অভাব, এগুলো যেন এখানে কাজ না করে, তাহলে কোনো কাজ হবে না। ছোট্ট আরেকটা হচ্ছে কোঅর্ডিনেশনের ব্যাপারটা। ডক্টর কবির বলে গেছেন যে এমফাসিস দেওয়াটার ব্যাপারটা স্পষ্ট, যেখানে মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী কিভাবে কোন অফিসগুলোকে কার অধীনে নিয়েছেন, তার নিজের কাছাকাছি রেখেছেন। সুতরাং ইম্পর্টেন্সের কোনো ঘাটতি কোথাও নেই। কথা হচ্ছে যে কাজগুলো কিভাবে হবে, কাজটা প্রথমত শুরু হবে কিভাবে, এবং কোঅর্ডিনেটেড কনস্ট্যান্ট মনিটরিং অন কোঅর্ডিনেশন, এইটা দরকার জানা। কারণ আমরা দেখছি যে কি মতিতে এবং কি গতিতে প্রশাসন যন্ত্র চলে। অনেক ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।
Thank you very much. I think now let me now come back to the panelists. Anybody would like to answer questions that have come from the floor? Yes, Dr. Mahfuz.
Important thing has been in fact floated, which is on a sort of no ground. I think the mastermind of our in fact marine space is in here, but I'd like to say that we have the in fact 14 kilometers from the Tugla Chora, if I'm not wrong. So that is the source of no ground. But very interesting thing is that our maritime space is expanding. If we see the in fact reclamation of the land, so land is increasing. So I think the maritime zone is also increasing and it's dynamic. So we have the in fact the zone is a comfort zone. So this is number one. Number two is the hydrocarbon exploration. I think we are lagging behind, but we have to think, keep in mind that it's very expensive. And if we don't, in fact, relax the tone of the, in fact, sharing of benefit from the, so it's a hugely uncertain, in fact, investment. And the international, in fact, oil companies, they will not invest unless they get the due, their due. So they have to have, in fact, a sizable portion of the benefit. So, and if we can ensure that, then I think that they will come and invest in there, because it's a hugely costly and there's a lot of uncertainty. Even though we know that, in fact, there are certain areas like Gola district and other places surround that. So there are a lot of gases, but what about the other areas? So we have to understand that. And there is another thing that I wanted to mention, which is the location of the special economic zones. So I think it's heavily located towards the Chattogram and Cox's Bazar, but if we see the other parts, there are a lot of opportunities, but we don't, in fact, locate the special economic zones in other places. And the fourth one is the in fact, inequitable. So the distribution of the maritime resources. I think that is very important. And in our policy documents, clearly mentioned that we have to have an equitable distribution of the benefits of the blue economy. So I think we have to have the kind of policy direction in the planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me request Dr. Professor Delores.
Thank you. Although there was no question directed to me, but just a general comment. If you see the title of today's seminar, I mean, it has given almost similar weight on blue economy and maritime security. And of course, we emphasize development, we emphasize resources, and that is very important. And blue economy has been very rightly identified as a national priority, and we know several institutions have been created, and the policy documents are there. But at the same time, actually, the way regional and global politics has changed over the few years. So we have to also equally emphasize this security and strategic dimensions, for which actually we need more attention and more research. And that is also important, because unless we have a very peaceful environment in the Bay of Bengal, with the cooperation of littoral states and also states in the greater Indian Ocean, it is really difficult. And we have to use our leadership, as rightly identified by our two speakers. That is, it's an opportunity for us. But Bay of Bengal, of course, I mean, it has very specific scope for us, and we need to develop our capability both on the side of exploring and also taking right decisions at the right time and implementing them. And at the same time, we have to understand the security dynamics that are unfolding almost every day. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Motoshi?
Thank you, sir. The vibe I'm getting from the audience and even from the speakers, quite pessimistic. But I am, quite optimistic about the situation. If you see who are at the forefront of the blue economy implementation, the countries like Seychelles, Mauritius, they have taken a lot of time to develop their blue economy. So why are we not giving the time to our country or the government? That is one question. There was one question regarding that we are not exploring the hydrocarbons at the Bay of Bengal, but the situation, the statement is not true. We have actually started. We have given one of the Indian companies of public within the PCA agreement to drill the hydrocarbons. So what I believe that we have to give some time to actually implement the blue economy policies. And again, I would repeat that maritime security and blue economy are two sides of the same coin. We cannot forget that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Admiral Khurshid?
Thank you, sir. Well, first part of the question is probably on the this polythenes, yes. Plastic, yes, plastics. Thank you very much for asking that. Yes, the plastic is a nuisance for the sea, It is creating in all the areas, all the seas. In fact, in Bay of Bengal also, there is a dead zone has been created because where the current continues to run like this, in the center, this plastic is there. And once the plastics are jumbled up in one place, there is no oxygen and no fish, nothing. And its size increases with the arrival of new plastics in that area. So one of the German scientists has found out that there is a dead zone in Bangladesh, Bay of Bengal. We have not yet been able to trace that, but that is what is it. And if we continue to get this plastic at this rate, that was the problem it will be having. However, good news is that the world has taken notice of it, and UN is now trying to make a new law. Like Bangladesh, we have banned plastic in 2002, single-use plastic manufacture and use, but implementation is not there. So many of the countries have banned plastic, like India has banned recently, Kenya has banned. So these are the steps which are being taken because of the initiative of the United Nations. Hopefully, I can say that, that will be a good law, which will help us to get rid of this plastic things by 2050. And the other thing was about the source of no ground. On general asked the question. Source of no ground is actually from Heron Point. It is about 22 kilometers down. And then it's a river under the sea. We call it canyon, a river under the sea because it stretches up to 3,000 kilometers. It starts 22 kilometers from the Sundarban, and then it passes Sri Lanka, 5 degrees south. So for all these millions of years, the sedimentation what has come, it has carried this sediment to the Indian Ocean, to the Bay of Bengal, and some have been deposited here. Now this is the normal flow. I do not know, and no studies have suggested that this flow if we stop, we can actually get land reclamation. Rather, land reclamation is already having in Bangladesh, but some parts of the land like Bhola, Eastern Bhola is always eroding. Sandip, west side is eroding. That means these are the eroding lands which are actually being built up in, say, Nizum Chor or South Bhashan Chor. These are all new things are coming up. This will continue. This will continue. And finally, I would like to say that, yes, blue economy has a very big future, big potential. And the chief guest has said that we have discussed this issue for many more times, but the problem is effective implementation is not at the forefront. Like in 10 years now, we even could not go to deep sea, more than 40 miles. We're still restricted to 40 miles. We could not go to deep sea. We could not even drill a single oil field or gas field in the Bay of Bengal. Whereas Myanmar has already got struck gas on their side of the border in 2016. The problem is our PSC, production sharing contract. We say, okay, we will give you $5 per cubic meter. That is after 10 years, because it takes 10 years to explore, exploit, and bringing it up. But Myanmar is already paying $8 per cubic meter. So even India is paying $7.5. So those are the reasons, the international oil companies are not very interested to come. But we have to look at ourselves on the mirror, that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has given us this area in 2014. And what have we done so far till 22? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we had a wonderful round of discussion. Let me thank all the panelists for their excellent and I should say thought-provoking presentations, and also the questions that we got from and observations we got from the floor and also from our online participants. So I thank all of you for your kind contribution and support. Now, my apologies that we are already late.
3 minutes with the 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
We don't have 3 minutes, unfortunately. You can take 1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay.
আমার ভীষণ ইম্প্যাক্ট হয়েছে বিড়াল খুরশেদের যে প্রথম স্লাইডটা, যে আমরা হাঁটু পর্যন্ত সমুদ্রকে দেখেছি, হ্যাঁ, কক্সবাজার যাই হাঁটু সহ। তো আমার মনে হয় ওই ইতিহাস এখানে একটা কাজ করে। উনি নারায়ণ কথা বলেছেন, আমি ঐতিহাসিকভাবে আমাদের কিন্তু সমুদ্র যাত্রাটা ছিল, বন্ধ ছিল। সমুদ্রে গেলে আপনি অসুচি হয়ে আবার সূচি হয়ে, এই যে সাইকোলজিটা কাজ করেছে, আপনি যদি দেখেন চন্দ্রগুপ্ত থেকে নিয়ে অশোক থেকে নিয়ে বাবর, আকবর, আওরঙ্গজেব, everybody was a land power, and when the British, French and আসছে, সাগর দিয়ে আসছে, we had no defense and they came in a Clive কিন্তু এই হুগলি নদী দিয়ে গিয়ে পলাশিতে যুদ্ধ করেছে, রাজমহলে যুদ্ধ করেছে, দিল্লি পর্যন্ত গেছে। এই জন্য আমার মনে হয় যখন এই যে ব্লু ইকোনমিকে এখনো আমরা নেগলেক্ট করছি, 1000 years of you can say neglect of the sea as a power or as a source, this is still deep in our mind. We are basically a landlubber and not a seafarer, and that is why আমাদের ওই যে উনি বললেন যে ফিলিপাইন্স মানে কত পার্সেন্ট যেন সমুদ্রে তারা করে, অথচ আমাদের এই 16 কোটি লোকের দেশে হয়তো আই ডোন্ট নো 1000 ক্যাপ্টেন আছে কিনা জাহাজের, things like that. আমাদের এখানে অনেক কিছু করা যেতে পারে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Oh, thank you.
Can I just take 10 seconds? Ambassador.
Now, again.
No questions, sir. I just want to thank Admiral Khurshid for,
I would say, an excellent opportunity to brainstorm, to think about the blue economy and the maritime security from Bangladeshi perspective. So having heard all the discussions and deliberations, let me take the opportunity to summarize some of their points. I know many would not be included, but main points I would like to summarize. From the inaugural session to the working session, one theme that vibrated all along was the need for a coordinated development of a structure, an infrastructure, we have currently infrastructure at different ministries, sales and other stuff. But I think the suggestion came from the Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Shamsul Alam, that a ministry or a division dedicated to the purpose of exploring blue economy, maritime security, and everything could be created. So this is something that we need to think about. He proposed that division to be situated at the Ministry of Science and Technology, but it could be in a better place like Ministry of Planning and so on and so forth. So that could be discussed, but the idea-wise, that idea remains. The second point which came out, I think, and which is very relevant, not only for blue economy and maritime security, I think for many areas of our life, the issue is the capacity building. Capacity building is extremely important. We, as just been mentioned by Admiral Khurshid, that we don't have the capacity, in fact, and capacity in multiple dimensions. Earlier, it was mentioned about exploration, oil and gas exploration. I mean, we don't have capacity. So should we wait for that? I don't believe so. It would be appropriate where we have the capacity, we utilize that. Where we don't have it, we earn it. And if we have to earn it, if we can earn it from domestic sources, fine. If not, let it be brought from outside and collaborate and build up our capacity so that over a period of time, we can do it ourselves without the support from others. So that is another issue, big issue for all sectors of our life, including the blue economy and maritime security. Then comes the issue of equity issue, meaning that when we are talking about exploring maritime security and blue economy, we have our competitors, for example, or collaborators from beyond Bangladesh. So they will have, for example, maritime, Myanmar issue has come up. I mean, they are doing it. So we can also learn from them and collaborate with them. So from those perspectives also, we have to highlight certain principles and certain issues that can help us to promote our issue and also build up support from others. Then comes the external infrastructure. External support is very important because, as we have known already, this is a common resource. So if that is so, how can we best utilize the opportunity? And there, I think infrastructure-wise, BIMSTEC has been mentioned, and we know it. And I think BIMSTEC, we should acknowledge the fact that it has not been utilized the way it should have. It is gradually becoming securitized, but I think BIMSTEC has a huge opportunity to build up a maritime community around the Bay of Bengal. And there, I think there is some incentive there, and some opportunities there. Bangladesh should push those areas for our benefit and also promoting the common benefit for the region. IORA has been mentioned. Bangladesh is now chairing. So this is the time where Bangladesh can advance its ideas, and through mobilizing support from our friends, we can advance our national objectives and at the same time promote something common objective, as we know. I think, and then I would say that blue maritime diplomacy also has been mentioned, and very important because diplomacy is a very important element, as has been mentioned by Professor Delawar, that there is a divergence in threat perceptions by different countries. And we know that the big powers from region and from beyond are looking at this area or this domain. So in order to manage them in the most effective way and keeping them on our side, for example, or aligning them with our interests, there, I think, a very strong, creative, and dynamic diplomacy would be very important. So there, I think we need to also understand that for a country like Bangladesh, diplomacy is perhaps the only tool, I would say most effective tool available for us to promote our national interest and also create or promote our reputation as a peace entrepreneur. Because Bangladesh, we have been doing peace entrepreneurship around the world under the UN peacekeeping operations. We have a good reputation, but I think we can, on the maritime domain also, we can extend that reputation of Bangladesh as a peace promoter. And last thing I should say is that maritime security is an evolving issue. So there, if we can contribute intellectually or from other dimensions, we should continue to do that. So with these words, once again, I should express my gratitude, personal gratitude to BIS for giving me this honor and opportunity to coordinate the working session today, and also to be a part of this very interesting, stimulating, and thoughtful discussion. With these words, once again, I would like to thank all of you. I thank the BIS chairman, DG, and all other friends from BIS for allowing us to be a part of this discussion today. So thank you very much. And what we have now? The lunch is there. I think, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly request you to join us for lunch. The lunch is